for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening. Fade to Black. Bespoke Radio. For the masses. Yeah, man. How you doing? How you doing? Let's do this, man. Today is Wednesday, April 7th, 2021. 98 days into the new year, only 267 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere. A total undisclosed location, but it is beautiful. And I do mean that. I want to welcome everybody listening all around the world. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the planet. I am your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? How you doing? All right. Here we go. Tonight, the one and only Jonny Enoch. And tonight, I'm calling this Johnny's Strangeness Updates. And I've got a little bit of a hint of what is going to go down tonight. And this is what I said to Johnny. I said, you know what? Let's go. Let's go. I'm down so much to reveal tonight. It's just going to be one of those shows. So sit down, relax, get your beverage of choice, and get ready. Jonny Enoch is here. And I want to remind everybody, tomorrow night, it's Fader night. Open lines all night long. And it's so funny. Right before the show tonight, I went out and brewed some coffee, and it was just smelling so good. I have to hit it. Oh man, what is it about coffee? Coffee will let you know that everything is okay. It's all right in the world. That's what a great cup of coffee will do. That's what a great coffee will do. It's all right. It's all right. I've said it so many times. In the morning, the smell of coffee, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. No sleep, no nothing. And it's early and you want to sleep in and do whatever. You're wide awake. As soon as you smell it, that's it. Coffee will just make everything right in the world. So there you go. Okay. Yeah, it was just smelling so good. So good. Okay, let's get this show cracking. Got a lot to talk about tonight. And first off, and how I meant to do this earlier today. My bad. I promise I will do it tomorrow. I got a bunch of images from you Fadernauts and your new crystal skulls, and they look amazing. And I meant to get those out in social media today. The day just got away from me, completely got away from me. But I will do that tomorrow. But I know that everybody it's so cool, when you get a crystal skull and it's just so cool. So I'm going to share all of that with you tomorrow. But you can get your new or next crystal skull from Carolyn Ford and go to EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. It's really that easy to do. Just go over to Jimmy Church Radio, the banner's right there. Click on it, head over, and use that promo code Jimmy. You're going to get 10% off of your next crystal skull order today. It's really that easy to do. She has the very best. Some of the things that she is posting right now. Oh, man. I want them all. I'm just going to confess. I want them all. It's just, I want them all. I want them all in my life. So go over to EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. Okay, now I will be at the UFO Megacon. It is coming up. I mean, the days are quickly getting behind us right now. We're at April 7th. And so 2 months from today, we're going to be in Laughlin, Nevada, June 6th through the 12th at the UFO Megacon at the Aquarius Hotel and Casino right there on the river. You want to get your tickets now. It's going to sell out. It is my guess that by this time next week, it's going to be sold out. So go and get your tickets. We have a banner over at jimmychurchradio.com. It says right there, UFO Megacon. Click on it. Head right over, get your tickets. It's limited, obviously, ticket sales. And we're hoping it's going to open up. Everything is opening up right now. So maybe it'll open up. But right now, it's limited. So you need to go and get your tickets. And I want Fadernauts there. I want to see all the T-shirts and the hats and the friends and people that just hang out all the time, the OG Fadernauts that maybe I've never met before. Let's go. Let's hang out at a hotel, a real UFO conference, 7 days of knowledge. Jonny Enoch is going to be there. He's our guest tonight. And it was kind of weird. It wasn't planned this way. Darcy Weir, our guest last night, he's going to be there. Tonight, Jonny Enoch is here. He's going to be at UFO Megacon. There is a lot of great speakers. That is a heck of a lineup, and it's 7 days of people. And I know that you want to go and hang out with all of us. So there you go. The banners are over at jimmychurchradio.com. Follow me on Twitter at jchurchradio. Can you tell I'm a little less stressed, right? A little less stressed. Last night, I had a flawless show, finally. Just everything worked and everything was fine. And I didn't freak myself out all day yesterday. I just worried about the show like I did for the last 8 years at the old location. But now it's all running. Everything is fine. Everything is cool. So I'm in a great mood. And plus, Jonny Enoch is here. Follow me on Twitter at jchurchradio. All right. That's where the trouble starts, right there on Twitter at jchurchradio. Hashtag F2B is the sandbox. Everybody's going crazy. Good gifts tonight. Did I missed it? I'm going to admit it. I missed Resident Alien, so don't ruin the finale for me. I did not see that. And there are a couple of other things that are wrapping up right now. I haven't watched TV. I haven't watched TV in 10 days. Not a lick. I haven't watched TV in 10 days. Wow. Yeah. I just need to think about that for a second. All right. Hashtag F2BQ is Fade to Black Questions. Right there on Twitter, Jimmy at jimmychurchradio.com. Let's get to the breaking news. It's about to go down. We're just days away. Ingenuity, NASA's little Mars helicopter. It's not that little. It's, pretty good size. But it's finally opened its eyes. That's right. The chopper snapped its first color photograph on Saturday, April 3rd, shortly after being lowered to the Martian dirt by the Perseverance rover. I watched the video of it. It's pretty cool. It's pretty dramatic. The picture, not so dramatic. It's like if you take a picture of the ground, right, from that far above. It's not exactly what you think. But it's running. It's operational, okay? Over the next few days, Perseverance is driving away from Ingenuity, and it's going to continue moving away to a place that provides a good view of the airfield, because Ingenuity is sitting out there soaking up the sun and charging its batteries. But they're going to position Perseverance, for the best video shot. You got to have a good shot. And if all goes to plan, Ingenuity will lift off this Sunday. Yeah. Conducting the first ever powered flight in the skies of a world beyond Earth. To a muon wobbling far more than theory predicts it should. Now, the best explanation right now, according to physicists, is that the muon is being pushed about by types of matter and energy completely unknown to physics. The Fermilab researchers are relatively confident that what they saw was a real phenomenon and not some statistical fluke. They may have discovered a new force in nature. This is a big deal. All right, well, it's official. Resident Alien will be renewed for a second season. Yay. Sci-Fi has just announced it. The news comes after the network aired its season finale that I haven't seen yet. I haven't seen it. Have not. All right. But I assume if they're doing a second season that Earth didn't get blowed up. I'm just assuming. Let's get the show cracking. Happy birthday to today, Jack. 67. Russell Crowe. Unleash hell. Russell Crowe today is 57. The Oats in Hall & Oates. John Oates today is 72. And Janice Ian today is 69. Now, I know there are generations out there don't know who Janice Ian is. But if it's at 17. That man. There's a few songs from that era. At 17, I almost had the next. These acoustic songs that were just so eerie and moody, and At 17 was one of them. Just an incredible song. Happy birthday, Janice Ian, 69 years old. Our dead guy's birthday today is Freddie Hubbard. 1938 to 2008, died at the age of 70. Freddie was a jazz trumpeter. He played bebop, he played hard bop, he played post-bop styles. From the early 1960s onward, influential tone contributed to new perspectives for modern jazz and bebop, and he is considered to be one of the greatest musicians of all time. Hubbard was invited to play on Ornette Coleman's Free Jazz. That's right. And after that, played on some of the most important albums in history, including Oliver Nelson's The Blues and the Abstract Truth, right? Eric Dolphy's Out to Lunch, Herbie Hancock's Maiden Voyage, and Wayne Shorter's Speak No Evil. Man, I love that album. Freddie, he was born in Indianapolis, Naptown, and he died on December 29, 2008 in Sherman Oaks, my hometown here in California, from complications caused by a heart attack. He was 70 years old. Yeah, it's kind of weird, right? Naptown, me, right? Sherman Oaks, me. Freddie Hubbard, me, right? Yeah, nah. Freddie Hubbard. Happy birthday, Freddie. On this day in history, 1961, JF. I walked through the Temple of Dendur. It's incredible. It's a huge section of the museum. The whole temple. It's really weird because they show it there at the Met sitting out in the desert in the sand, right? Is there, and you can see them. They dismantle the entire thing, and then you look at it like, there's the pictures. There's the temple. And they got the whole thing. It's crazy. If you ever go to the Met, you want to check out the Temple of Dendur. So there you go. Fate or fact. The first car ever to break 100 kilometers per hour, 62 miles per hour. That barrier was an electric car, and it was called the La Jamais Content. And it was done in 1899. The record held for 3 years. That's right, until gasoline took over. Back then, man, there was 100 electric car manufacturers in the late 1800s, right? It was all about electric car. Don't ask me what happened. Tonight, very special guest Jonny Enoch is here. I'm calling this show Johnny's Strangeness Updates, and we're going to do all of that tonight. Tomorrow night is another Fader night with open lines all night long. Now, I have to go back and hit the rivermoonwellness.com. Yeah. Oh, man. Promo code F2B Blend. You've got to get it. You can go to Amazon, go to the website. The links and banners are over at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend. 15% off of your order today. Best coffee in the world. All right. Now I need to take a deep breath. I need everybody to just take a deep breath with me. Release. Right? Release. Because I know that I was going to talk about time travel tonight. You know, part 2 of my rant from last night. But tonight, I'm going to discuss Q. That's right. A subject that I've left alone for many months, if not years, actually. My comments have always been the same when it comes to Q. And my general statements have included advice, thinly veiled, at those out there who were all in. That's right. All in on those conspiracies that were spreading throughout social media. And the advice was this: be very careful. Listen, research, observe, but don't push all of your chips into the middle of the table. Don't do it. Just don't do it. The likelihood of Q being an actual insider inside of the White House was always remote at best. But if it were true, the whole Q saga would turn out to be one of the greatest stories of this or any other generation. But, and there's always a but if you were to have gone all in with Q, betting your life, friendships, and family on it, and it turns out to be totally fake, hoaxed, and fabricated, and you were duped, how do you cope with it? What if Q turned out to be someone who was for fun at your expense? What if? As things started to fall apart, for Q after the November 30 elections, in that, this is what I'm saying here, everything that Q had predicted, stated, or as completely fizzled. And so Q stopped posting. That's right. Q stopped posting at the beginning of December 8th. That's it. Why? Well, the answer is simple. It was all BS. And there was no way to continue with the false drama. There was nowhere to go. It was game over. Well, it turns out that Q is none other than Ron Watkins, a.k.a. Code Monkey, the son of Jim Watkins, the owner of 8kun, formerly 8chan. All right. Ron. Oh, is this thing on? Is this thing working? Is this on? Ron lives in the Philippines. Not Washington, D.C. He's not an insider. He's not anything. Oh, man. He does seem like a nice kid, though. All right. He's just a nice kid that got way over his head. Things got out of control. And the circle was definitely closing in on him. There was a lot of things that were going down. We had the Capitol, crazy legal court things, battles, lawyers. Oh, right? Oh, it was getting ugly. And although he will deny that he is Q because of the legal side of things, he didn't have a choice but to stop the post. Ron was probably one Q post away from the entire U.S. justice system raining down on him and his family. And right now, that still may happen. And he knows this. Now, here's the deal. What does the Q community do with this revelation? Probably not much. Okay? Too many have too much invested, and I get that. I'm sure that the whole Q movement will continue in some form, but the hope that the real Q will someday be revealed and that person had an office in the White House for 4 years is now gone. Poof. Not one of the 4,000 Q posts were based on insider info. It was all made up in the mind of Ron Watkins, a lone computer programmer based in the Philippines. Now, it's a harsh reality. It is. It's a harsh reality that many will have a difficult time dealing with. And again, I understand that. But there are some that just don't care. As for me, well, I'm just moving on to the next great conspiracy theory because I've done this 100 times before. Probably 1,000. And you got to love it. I do. I love a good conspiracy theory. Seriously. Now, I remember stating a few months back, and for those of you out there that listen to this show every night, you know what I'm talking about. Because I said a few months back that I would have my final comments about Q in the middle of January. And I told everybody then I'm holding off. I know what's going on. I'm just going to wait. I have to, but it'll be in the middle of January. And at that time, the news about Ron was starting to bubble up to the surface. And I just wanted to wait until everything broke. Well, it did. It took a little bit longer. All right. But now it's all out in the open. So I hope everybody's doing okay. For those of you that went all in and unfortunately alienated those around you and nobody could talk sense and this and that. And I get it. And I get the reasons why. And the reasons why for you are the same for me. I want a Q to be real. There would be nothing greater than talking about the reality of an insider inside of the White House that's doing revealing all of the bad that's in the world. And this, what a great story for all of mankind. But it turned out not to be real. Okay? I didn't go all in. I didn't. So I'm okay with it. I am. I'm just going to move on to the next great conspiracy. All right? It's what I do. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, the one and only Jonny Enoch. That's right. Tonight, Johnny's Strangeness Updates. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. That's what you want to do. I'll be right back after this short break with Jonny Enoch. Stay right there.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
Introducing the Game Changer blend from River Moon Coffee that delivers a customized blend made specifically for the Fadernauts. If the game is rigged, change the game. It's a bolder cup with some bite. Game Changer is the coffee of choice for those that prefer an organic dark roast that is slightly lighter and milder, but it's still dark. With wild notes of pecans and chocolate with a rich, balanced, full-bodied cup that is roasted to perfection for a great coffee to start your day, as an after-dinner coffee or anywhere in between. Artisan, small batch roasted to perfection. USDA certified organic, all River Moon coffee is freshly roasted and packaged in the USA. Just go to rivermooncoffee.com or click on the banners over on our site and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. rivermooncoffee.com.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact. KGRARadio.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, folks. It's troubling times, and fear is pushing emotions, which in turn pushes health the wrong direction. Do you ever get an ache because life is uneasy? Try Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. Life Change Tea works on your digestive tract, helping to move food through quicker and comfortably so your health is spot on. Life Change Tea may not help with world issues, but it will help with your digestive issues. A glass a day helps keep the intruders away. So, change your life today. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. If your health game is off, get on by ordering Life Change Tea. Getthetea.com. And while you're on our site, look around at the great non-GMO organic supplements. And if you're a sales shopper, go to our specials page and see what's for you. I've been drinking the tea for 12 years and I'm sure glad for its health benefits. Again, that's getthetea.com. Getthetea.com. The tea that makes you go.
Fadernauts, when you think about the future of our country and where we're headed, do you wonder about the food supply? I do. Disruptions in the food supply chain could be disastrous, and they usually occur with little warning. That's why the smartest thing you can do today is to stockpile emergency food, water, and other essentials. I personally recommend My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, serving millions of customers for more than a decade. In fact, they're the only source my family trusts for our preparedness plan. You should too. Right now, save 20% off a full 4-week supply of delicious meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. Saving 20% helps too, doesn't it? Especially now. So go to preparewithjimmy.com and get ready. That's preparewithjimmy.com. There's no time to lose. Do it now.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Jonny Enoch is here. It's Johnny's Strangeness Updates. That's right. I can't wait for this. And tomorrow night is another Fader night with open lines all night long. It's my favorite night of the week, except when Jonny Enoch is here. Okay? I have to put that disclaimer in there. And I'm going to let everybody know before I get to this that Johnny, and only I can see Johnny, right? Johnny's right here. He's right there. Johnny's wearing a suit for the show, for all of you Fader knots. So when you hear Johnny speak tonight, imagine him. He just got back from his haberdasher. I don't know who is tailoring his bespoke threads, but he looks really good. And his groundbreaking research has been featured in numerous interviews, articles, and has been well received at conferences. His goal is to prepare the public for full disclosure and create a peaceful future that includes space exploration and the development of consciousness-based sciences. We're going to cover all of that tonight. I've got a link up over at jimmychurchradio.com to Johnny's YouTube channel. You can head right over there, and you can certainly follow him on Facebook. And I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black, the one and only Jonny Enoch. Johnny, my man, how you doing?
I'm good, Jimmy. Thanks for having me back on the show. I always love hanging out with you and the Fader Knots.
And you look good, man. You look good. You look good. You got the hanky. Wow,
got the little
man.
pocket square. But you look good, man. I mean, every time I see you, you look good. And I think that now that the new bunker is here, the new bunker is getting its new style too.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty dolled up by Monday, and I'm looking forward to that. It's always cool to move into a new space, no matter what, right? And the old one, being there for 10 years, started to get a little long in the tooth anyway. But yeah, this is great. We got a great space, and it's big, and it's really nice. But enough of that, man. We've got a lot of things going on together. Let's get a couple of things out of the way. First off, okay, let's start here. UFO Megacon. It's coming up June 6th through the 12th in Laughlin, Nevada at the Aquarius Hotel and Casino. Last night we had Darcy Weir on the show, and that's just a coincidence. He's going to be at UFO Megacon. You're going to be at UFO Megacon. We brought Darcy on the show because he's a great filmmaker. He just happens to be at UFO Megacon too as well, and he's going to be premiering his new film there. And that guy is sharp. I mean, he is sharp, and I'm fully comfortable knowing that the future of these subjects is being handled by somebody like Darcy, just a dynamic young man, and it's going to be great to see him there. We've got Sid Goldberg, Richard Dolan, Sean Stone, Danny Sheehan, Billy Carson. Who else we got?
Oh, we got so many people. We have, of course, Preston Dennett, who's going to be talking about some incredible off-the-wall experiences, just like extraterrestrial contact, the consciousness-bending experiences. You know, there's a few people here with Ruth Ann who's coming, and she's one of those people that's been an ET contactee that has had these experiences. And then you've heard this before, Jimmy, with people that have been contactees, that they've had some sort of activation done with them where it has activated extraordinary psychic abilities. She had these experiences, these profound experiences that she's going to talk about, but then she's going to give a demonstration to people who attend of not only being able to get messages from their loved ones, but being able to tell them things about their life to show that these experiences were legitimate that she's had. Dr. Melinda Greer is going to be speaking for the first time, and I was very excited when I heard about her presentation, because here's somebody who has a medical practice, but also is a lifelong ET contactee, talking about stuff for the very first time in public, which takes a lot of courage, as you know.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Barbara Lamb, Ray Hernandez. Right? I mean, the
legendary.
It's going to be an incredible, incredible conference. And the thing is, of course, Sarah Adams is going to be there too as well.
J.J. Ainsworth.
Yes.
With these people that are talking about their experiences, with not only was Sarah talking about her experiences and consciousness and looking at these places, these consciousness technologies, but J.J. Ainsworth has been all over the world looking in ancient Egypt and looking at ancient civilizations and unraveling them, who was attached to them. But you just mentioned Barbara Lamb. Now, Barbara Lamb, we know she is legendary for her regressions, in this field.
Mm-hmm.
You know this. I put her up there with Dolores Cannon. But, what she's going to talk about is her contact experiences. And she's going to break the silence on this, and she's going to share things that have never been talked about before, which is very exciting.
She is one of the nicest, coolest people ever. I mean, ever. In the history of the world, cool is Barbara Lamb. I mean, she's absolutely incredible. Now, looking here, Colin Wolford is going to be there. And, of course, I mentioned Darcy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it looks like a 35, almost 40 presenters over 7 days. I'm really looking forward to this. And I want everybody to know I'm going to be hosting 2 panels that week. I will be also hosting one night of sky watching. I'm going to do that, and I'm probably going to weasel my way onto stage a few times that week because well, it's just you know what? I've got so much energy, like we all do, that it's just been bottled up for 2020. And I'm just going to be ready to go. And we've got it all. We've got food. We've got a hotel. We've got a great casino, things to do. We've got 7 days of lectures and panels, and we've got Darcy's movie. It's just going to be a blast for 7 days.
And I want to throw something in also. I mean, not only do we have the Kinsella brothers, Colin Wolford, Harry Challenger, who's the publisher of the Flying Saucer Review, bringing some incredible stuff. They're coming from the UK.
Mm-hmm.
But you mentioned Sean Stone, who's your friend. You were instrumental in getting Sean at this conference. And Sean is going to be gracing us with the world premiere of his new movie. And he's got a new movie that's going to be showing there about the Archon controllers, which is very, very exciting, very cutting edge, very edgy stuff. But so is Mike Ricksecker. Mike Ricksecker, who's on the Alaska Triangle with me on Travel Channel, and he's doing all kinds of strange stuff with documenting shadow people and connecting the shadow people over to the extraterrestrial stuff, which is very exciting in his new series and documentaries that he's releasing. So these guys coming, this is just going to be incredible with you there, Jimmy. The panels that you got going, these are going to be legendary.
Yeah, I think people are going to be chatting about this conference for quite a while, the way that Bob and the team has structured everything out and their vision of this. It's going to be great. You mentioned Sean. I'm so excited, Sean Stone. I'm so excited to see this new movie. Every time I call Sean, and I'm not making this up, I'm like, Sean, man, you got a minute? Dude, I'm editing. But yeah, thanks for calling, because I can get away from this for a minute. But he's working really, really hard on this film. And when he said, you know what, it's going to be ready by the conference. It's going to be ready. Do you think I could show it? What do you think you can do? Oh, man. So, yeah, how great is that? It's going to be a lot of fun.
I agree. And, Jimmy, with your energy and coming in there, I know you bring the best out of people. So when they're there, and we're talking about these incredible panels with, it's only a dream to have people up there telling the stories that they're going to be talking about. I agree with you. It's just people's minds are going to be blown.
Now, and again, everybody, that is June 6th through the 12th. We've got banners up over at jimmychurchradio.com. Go and click. Right now, tickets are limited. Probably this time next week, it's going to be sold out. That's my prediction. I want as many Fadernauts there and those Fade to Black T-shirts running around. So I encourage everybody not to procrastinate and go and get your tickets. But you made the announcement, so I guess we can go ahead and do it now. We're going to Egypt, my man.
Yeah, no, this is very exciting. You know, going to Egypt is a very special, spiritual, and sacred pilgrimage. And this next year's trips that came together, this one with you that came together, it was almost as if we were divinely led to do it. And I think it's going to be incredible. What was the moment, Jimmy, when we were talking about, what was the moment that you turned on and said, okay, we're going?
Well, first off was your invitation. That was the first thing. But the second thing is when you said to me, Jimmy, this is going to be the Emerald Tablets tour with myself, you, Jonny Enoch, Billy Carson, you, and Muhammad Ibrahim. And I was like, wait, what? That is, this is a dream. This is a dream. And to go and have you and Billy and Muhammad as my guide, you know, I'm going to be there representing, absolutely. And I'm going to bring what knowledge I can to the table and hang out with everybody. But to have the three of you personally for 2 weeks take me through Egypt to all of these sites is a dream. And for everybody that is going to be tagging along with us, it's going to be extraordinary. 2 weeks in Egypt.
It's extraordinary. And my partner, she'll be there too, Zuzana. And one of the things with her is that she is into archaeolinguistics as a linguist, into archaeology, all the stuff all the subjects we talk about. And it's amazing to have with you there, with Billy there, with Muhammad, with her, with all of us. We are going to be delving into the mysteries like they've never been delved before. All the pieces of the puzzle will come together. But we're doing some very special things on this tour, Jimmy, that Muhammad just laid out in the last day. He's putting the itinerary together, and it's going to be just so incredible, the places that will open up, not only in Amarna that we'll be looking at with where Akhenaten was from. We're going to be looking at the mysteries of Heliopolis, our own, and just the amazing places that we're going to get to traverse for. You know, if anybody out there has ever looked at going to Egypt or they've dreamt of it, nobody can quite explain it to you. They can't describe it to you properly of what it's like to be on that Nile cruise at night when you're talking to the group and all the temples are lit up with that beautiful African moon out. Nobody can explain the beauty of going down into the Serapeum or going into the various chambers of the Great Pyramid or outside of the Sphinx, or when you're going into Abydos and you're seeing these places light up with the glyphs on the wall. There's something that changes in you forever in these temples, and it's just a magical feeling. And I urge everybody, if you ever have dreamt of doing this, now is the time to go. The energy is changing in the world. This is a very sacred journey.
And the other, of course, it's all of the ancient sites, and you can't get enough of those. But the Grand Museum is open, so we get to do that too as well.
We do. Did you see the ceremony?
I did. I talked about it. That was made you almost want to cry. That was pageantry, deserved, by the way. Royalty, absolutely incredible.
It was incredible, and there's a lot we're being prepared for in the world for this new transition of energy. We're moving into this new cycle, and it's a very important time. But the Egyptians understand that there's a lot of things that are going to happen in the future with Africa. Africa is going to become one of the most important places in the entire world. And from my understanding, from the people I talk to and in different places, they tell me that Egypt is going to be the center of that. It's going to be one of the most powerful and important places in the earth. And you see this right now. It's being geared up. Egypt has a lot of money pouring into it. You see the ceremonial obelisk there, the upgrades to the infrastructure. It's an incredible place to visit, and now is a great time to go there. And so moving into next year, I believe that this is going to be a time that is going to be a really refreshing energy to go there in the spring when we go. We're going to have the new gem area that you mentioned. And have you seen inside of there? They have holographic areas of history.
It's absolutely incredible. I'm wondering, has the Cairo Museum now, is that even open? Has it been completely emptied?
Very limited. This is going to take over.
Well, yeah, because everything that I read this week, the last of the royal mummies have been removed, right? I'm just wondering what is left at the old museum and what they will use it for.
That's exactly right. All the stuff's been taken out of the basement and moved over.
Yep.
But I will say this, Jimmy, I have listened to you over the years, and so has Muhammad and others. I've listened to how passionately and how closely you look at Egypt. You are an Egypt fanatic. I mean, I've heard you with the greats over the years. With the Stephen Mailers and others, and you have dug deep into the realms of the mysteries of Egypt. And I think, to have that kind of enthusiasm and passion as a group, it always shows, my friend. It always shows. We always make new discoveries when you have fresh eyes. And that's the thing. You're not just going there. When you come along on this, all the Fadernauts out there aren't just going on there to be told what this is or how this is. I mean, sure, they're going to get a lot of great knowledge, but they're coming along as co-adventurers, as co-investigators, looking at the mysteries together, and we will make discoveries as a group.
Yeah, and Fadernauts, you're not being left out on this. I talked to Johnny about we've got to do Fade to Black from Cairo. So we will figure out a way to get it done. We've got plenty of time to plan ahead for it. But we're going to be doing, live broadcast from Cairo with all of you, and I can't wait to get that part done. I was speaking before the show tonight with Sid Goldberg, and I said, "So Sid, I'm going to Egypt." "Man, shut up!" I said, "Check it out, man. It's Jonny Enoch, Billy Carson, myself, and Muhammad Ibrahim." "No, what?" He said, "Have you been?" I said, "This is my first time." He goes, "Jimmy, I haven't been there yet. This is the tour I would want to go on." And I said, "Man, it's happening. We're actually pulled this off." And to hear he was so excited for me, and all of his trips to Egypt for one reason or another didn't happen, and he hasn't been to Egypt yet. And I'm excited. And so for all of the Fadernauts out there that haven't been, maybe you've been and you want to go back, this is the one to go on. It's myself, Johnny, Billy, and Muhammad, and it's going to be great. What do you think? You think we'll have 2 buses, 50 people, 40?
Yeah, we'll have about 2 buses at least. You see, the one great thing about Muhammad is that not only is he legendary, He, in my opinion, out of all the people I've talked to in this field, he is one of the greatest translators of hieroglyphics, and literally has a photographic memory for temples and places to decode these things. And he's very open-minded for an Egyptologist.
He's great.
One thing about him, he's brilliant. He's
Yes.
absolutely brilliant. One thing with him is that he does all the biggest tours for, it doesn't matter if we're talking about Nassim Haramein, Chris Dunn, Robert Schoch. He does groups that are like 140 people, 3-4 buses. He's got people out there in the Resonance Academy doing activations. So we can handle whatever number, but with this type of a group we're pulling in, the energy is going to be amazing. And what people don't realize is that when we rent out the Great Pyramid, you rent out the Great Pyramid or an area like the Osiris Shafts, that's like $2,000 US for an hour or two. $2,500 for, let's say, the Osiris Shafts. $2,000 to privately rent out the complex in the Sphinx area, the enclosure. And then you need to get the private permissions and the authorization to go in there, and you have to have the right connections. So the type of places we're getting access to, they're extraordinary. The type of permissions that we've already got the green light for this tour that have just been cleared. So this tour is going to be unbelievable. It's going to be incredible.
I can't wait. I cannot wait. Cannot wait. So thank you for that, Johnny, for not only putting this together, but considering myself and Billy and to do this. I know that we're going to have some Fadernauts on that tour, and it'll be a lifetime of memories, and I just cannot wait. I can't wait. I can't wait. I know that there's going to be one special spot where I'm going to walk, and then something's going to happen to me. You know, that personal experience. And I don't know what it is, where it's going to be, but it's going to happen, and I can't wait for it, man. I can't wait, and you're going to be there.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. There is another area that Muhammad said he's going to put in as a special surprise on this tour. So because Billy's thing is the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. Thoth, as we know, is Hermes.
Mm-hmm.
So the area that the temple area that's a lot of people don't go there on tours. We're going to hit all the great spots that you normally hit. Like, of course, we got to do Luxor and Karnak and Edfu and Dendara and all those places. But an area that we're going to go to is Hermiopolis. And near Hermiopolis that we're going to go to, the exciting part about that is there is a subterranean area that is sort of like the Serapeum that is going to be really mind-blowing for everybody. That's what Muhammad's saying. And he said that we had to put that in there because this is the Emerald Tablets tour. So it's just going to be wild. And, you know, with Billy's information and what he has to teach about that, it fits in perfectly along those lines.
So Luxor, right? Edfu is on the list.
Oh, we got to do that. Absolutely.
Oh, man.
And Saqqara. All the pyramids around Saqqara.
Oh, man. Oh, man. 2 weeks isn't enough. Johnny, thank you so much for putting this together. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Now, I'm looking at the clock here. We've got to take a break. But before we do, I'm calling this show tonight Johnny's Strangeness Updates. And there's a lot of areas that we're going to be going into tonight. And I want the audience to know, and I want you to confirm, we have just discussed very little about this because I don't want to know. I don't want to have a complete list because I want the audience and I to ride through this together. What are some of the subjects we're going to be talking about?
Well, let me give a warning, first of all, with this, too, as it comes together, is that you and I, Jimmy, we talk to people in all sorts of interesting places. You know, we're researchers and truth seekers on this journey. I get sort of sessions once in a while where I'm allowed to ask certain questions of the people I sit down with. And I get to ask anything I want. And I get extraordinary updates about where we're headed, what's happening, you know, the sort of shifts with extraterrestrials that we'll get into tonight, what's happening in a whole with our technology, where we're going in the future, and, you know, what we can do about understanding the current position we all find ourselves in. So these are the sort of things that we're looking at tonight. You know, also, I want to, explore the topics of our reality as well as how our UFOs are working. So those sort of things are things that we can look forward to talking about.
Now, when you get this kind of information, how do you document it? Are you allowed to record?
No recording allowed.
No recording allowed. So
you see the notebook I'm holding up? I have a notepad, and I'm allowed to take notes for about 9-10 hours at a time, and I'm allowed to ask anything I want. I get these very particular questions that I can ask. I can ask anything I want, but I'm not allowed to record the conversations.
Wow, that's pretty crazy. And so are you saying that these classrooms, if you will, they last for 9 or 10 hours at a pop?
9 or 10 hours at a pop, yeah. It's very interesting. And as you know, I get my information from a number of places and a number of sources, whether it's traveling around the world into strange temples and places or talking to folks in extraordinary positions. But in some cases, I do get my help, and there are certain rules to being in that sort of position. Sometimes you're given information you're not allowed to share. Sometimes you're told, hey, this is privately for what you're doing that can help you and steer you. But a lot of it is given. We get help in this world as being in this research position, so we can help everybody understand where we're going. Because, Jimmy, as you know, when you do shows like Fade to Black, you're helping to educate people about where we're going.
Right.
You're helping people to understand, because the populace overall, there's a lot of the stuff you talk about on Fade to Black, the average person might consider that too woo, as they call it. They might consider it too overwhelming, so we're given these bite-sized morsels. So the Fadernauts are really educators. They're helping the neighbor understand that if they do happen to see a UFO or some strange thing in the sky, that, the Fadernauts are going to be the ones that are helping everybody next door understand, if you know what I mean.
Right. Yeah, that makes total sense. I'm looking at Twitter. Somebody just said, "Man, I'm signed up for the tour already." He says, I'm 100 times more excited for it now after hearing this. Yeah, it's so cool, man. This is going to be great. Let's take our break right here, Johnny. Stay right there. This is Fade to Black. It is time for Johnny's Strangeness Updates. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Hashtag F2B is the sandbox. It's live in front of me right now. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
This is Billy Carson with ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Forbidden Knowledge TV has just reached its 1-year anniversary. That's right, 1 year. And as a show of appreciation, we are giving all new subscribers a free 30-day trial of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's 30 days to binge watch thousands of movies, documentaries, conferences, workshops, lectures, yoga classes, meditation courses, and so much more. So log on to ForbiddenKnowledge.tv from your computer or mobile device, or get the Forbidden Knowledge TV app on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon, iTunes, or Google Play today, and use coupon code 30daysfree. That's coupon code 30 days free on ForbiddenKnowledge.tv today.
Listen, I know, and you know, that you've always wanted your first crystal skull. Or maybe you're a collector just like me, but you just don't know where to go to find the real thing. Then I met Carolyn Ford over at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. Carolyn is the guardian of Einstein, one of the most respected ancient crystal skulls in the world. All of her unique skulls have been imprinted sitting with Einstein in his sacred lodge and are carved from the finest gemstone and materials. Imprinting is the process of receiving the ancient wisdom from the master skull or master computer. Einstein, the ancient crystal skull. To see Carolyn's current collection of crystal skulls, just visit her store at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com or click on the banner over on our site. Don't forget to use the promo code Jimmy at checkout to receive 10% off of your order today. That's promo code Jimmy. Finding your first or next crystal skull is easy. Just visit EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. Well, we are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Jonny Enoch is here. Johnny's Strangeness Updates. Yeah, man, I'm ready for it. Tomorrow night is Fader Night. Open lines all night long. Besides tonight, it's my favorite night of the week. But tonight, it's Jonny Enoch. And Johnny, okay, I'm going to let you guide us with the first topic.
Well, Jimmy, I appreciate that. So, as far as topics go, you know, I feel like a kid in a candy store sometimes when I have this, you know, these questions and I want to know what's going on in the world, because things are strange out there for a lot of folks.
Right.
You know, we look around the world and things have changed a little bit in the last couple of years, you know?
It certainly has.
So, of course, you know, I want to know where we're headed and who's behind all of this. So, in these sit-downs I've had with these folks, when I get to ask these questions, I'm always told about these gardeners of humanity, that there's these gardeners or caretakers, you could say. And I always say, what do you mean by that? And I'm always told about the fact that a lot of stuff that happens here on our Earth and is disseminated down into our governments and everything else comes about 3,000 light years away from here. Okay, so it's very interesting that you might say that these folks that are about 3,000 light years away from here, it's not just one little tiny group or one little group of people sitting around in a room. We're talking about several different types of groups that are influencing us. And they do keep a close eye on us on Earth. And in some cases, they get Earth TV. They'll watch the Super Bowl. They listen to our music. I know that sounds amusing to a lot of people out there, and they might say that sounds a little strange. But it's very interesting that we are, surrounded by extraterrestrials and groups that are working with us. And they all have different intentions. There's one group, as it's been explained to me, and by calling it a group, it's much too small. We're talking about quite a large number that are working in this order that want to speed us up, Jimmy. They think that we are worthy of a greater evolution. They want to tell us more. They want us to catch up. They're like, hurry up, come on, let's go. Let's do this. You guys can do this. And the other group, Jimmy, they want to slow us down. They don't necessarily want us to work at the same pace. So you might say that when you want to look for these extraterrestrials, I've been told, this is what my contacts told me, the greatest place that you might want to see extraterrestrials on any given day is in Venice Beach. I know that sounds funny, but they said you go into Venice Beach and you will see extraterrestrials walking amongst you at any time. I've been told, we have extraterrestrials working amongst our scientists at Oxford University in government. They're around us at all times. I've heard there's all kinds of other different life forms, and how they interact with us is pretty mind-blowing. Something I told you about before the show that I was told about that was very interesting is I was told we are sometimes interacting with these artificially programmed chimera that essentially you might think that you're interacting with a human being or someone, but it's actually an energetic formation. Have you seen the movie Avatar?
I have.
Now, imagine that you had an ability to step into a consciousness vehicle that could come on Earth and have this holographic life form with denser subatomic structure. And I'm told, actually, that there was a place that's somewhere underneath Nevada, out in Nevada, where 30 years ago we already had military-grade holograms that could already interact with us, that are like this, that could actually come over to you, shake your hand, hand you a document, and disappear before your eyes. I was told that we had that 30 years ago. And in the previous session I had, in these sessions, I was told that in the next few years, that's where Netflix and everything we have in our homes is going, is all interactive holograms. We're all moving into that direction ourselves. So you could say that we had an avatar sort of technology that's existed, and we've interacted with this sort of stuff before in different scenarios on Earth. And I'm sure you've heard of this within your contactees. So, Jimmy, then I said, okay, so what's going on in the world right now? What's happening to us?
Are you suggesting, okay, let me absorb. That's a pretty heavy statement, that there is an interactive element that we are communicating with that appears real, but it is not. But that's not the point. But we are not aware of that. But we are doing this interaction every day.
That's it. And sometimes you've heard of people having these visitations. They might have had a visitation. Someone showed up very quickly and vanished before their eyes.
Right.
There can be a technological means of doing that. So it's like a consciousness vehicle that's using some sort of a space-time coordinates that says, okay, I'm going to show up at point A and point B. It has a way of showing up so there's a tactile interaction. They're absorbing the information, and then they can go back to where the signal's being beamed up. In some cases, there can be a type of an artificially programmed version of that can change positions, is what I was told. So this is a very interesting sci-fi-like reality, but essentially it's there. So then I started asking about our reality, because that became a big topic of this discussion. So what I was told essentially is that what we have is this quantum multiplicity. There's a quantum effect to our reality. And, of course, just like everyone listening, I was like, well, what the heck does that mean? How is that happening? I was told that our reality that we have right now, Jimmy, is happening in a way that it is constantly being affected. It's being affected in the sense that it's being affected by the future, by folks in the future where we've gone. And maybe you've heard about this with people talking about getting visited by the Greys, that they're getting abducted because you've heard the old story, right? That the Greys screwed up and they had to come back and do some experimentation.
Yep.
Well, of course, you know, I've heard in this multiplicity that we have some groups that are coming here from the future that are affecting us, that are affecting events in our world right now, trying to correct things. We have groups in the past that are trying to see things here. At the same time, we're getting things from other dimensions. So this is like those Japanese sword makers that are putting edge after edge after edge to create the perfect sword. So when I started asking about this, I was told that the complexities or the algorithm of our reality is so strange that the average person has no idea how it works, and it's mind-boggling. And so I said, of course, what does that essentially mean for us all? I was asked, do you think that it's the year 2021 right now? And the average person, of course, the average fader not listening is going to, of course, it's 2021. I just saw the news for Fade to Black tonight. It's Wednesday, April 7th. We're going to tune in and hear the show, right?
It better be 2021. Yes.
Right. Now, I was told that's where the programmers come in place. We have a very unique programming to all of us, and that's about to change. Actually, it's changing right now, and it's going to change rapidly as we move forward into our future right now. And how that works is that this goes back to that quantum idea of superposition, okay? So what this means is that our reality is not actually our reality. Everybody watching this right now, including Jimmy Church, right now, Jimmy, that younger you, many, many years back, I don't care if you go back to when you were, that young man or that young boy growing up out in Chicago, that saw that giant, what wasn't it? It wasn't a blimp.
It was a Zeppelin. Right? Yes.
That version of you right now, you are watching that Zeppelin right now as we speak. You might even that young you might even be eating an ice cream cone, looking up at it right now as we speak. The future you that's in Egypt is already doing that right now. You're doing all of this right now in simultaneity. It's all happening at the same time. But what's happening here is your perception of reality right now. This configuration is imbued into your existence, and it's an inherited perception in your consciousness position due to your DNA, how your DNA is structured. So I would like to talk about that, about who is behind programming our DNA and what's happening with that.
Let's stop right there for a second. We'll come back to DNA in just a second. The reason why, for me, that's an easy concept to absorb is this. Our concept of time is only because of our Earth and our sun and what is going on there. 1 year for us, 365 days, and what a day consists of, and everything else, and one trip around the sun is a year. That gives us 2021. That gives me my age. But that is different anywhere you go in the universe. It's a different concept. So once you get away from Earth, what is time? What is time? It's no longer linear, right? It has to be that way. Bashar said to me once directly about time, and that time is everything, right? There isn't time travel. There isn't how long has Bashar been on Earth? How long, no, that's not the way that it works. And once you get out off of Earth, that whole concept of 365 days in a year and how we move forward goes away, right? And it starts to really get out there because we're so used to, I wear a nice watch. I've got a lot of watches. I'm looking at the time here. I'm always considering the seconds and how things move forward. Once you get off this planet, the sun setting and rising doesn't happen, right? That all of that goes out the window. So yes, everything happens probably at the same time. It has to be that way, Johnny.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this time function, just as you mentioned it, and that was an incredible way that you laid it out, that it's this subjugation of our lineal assessment, meaning we all think there's this linear aspect to life, that time is like a river. You're never going to step in the same place twice. Well, there are beings, as it's been explained to me, there are beings that we're looking at that can go back and forward. They imagine the ability to not really age the way that we do. You could go anywhere back and forth, and you could start manipulating reality in certain places. You could go back, let's say, 20 years and add something in there. And the way we can look at this, Jimmy, you ever heard of those Israeli mathematicians like the Rosalind that did the Bible code? You ever heard of that?
Yes, of course.
The Bible code they found, not only was it so complex and so incredible, all the things they found in there, they were able to look at certain aspects of where we were headed and things that have been encoded in it, kind of like a Nostradamus. Even that's changed. We see that reality has changed in our quantum code. So, again, one of the things that I've been pointed at to look at again and again here is our DNA. All right. So, Jimmy, when you look at DNA, what do you see with DNA? What does it look like to you?
It looks very it's symmetrical, stable, beautiful, and aesthetically perfect.
That's a good answer. I mean, most certainly all those things are true when you go back to Francis Crick and everything like that. But you see the helixes, right?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Okay, so with the helixes, they kind of look like they have the little coils around them with the windings for distance. What we're looking at is an antenna, okay? So our consciousness and all the consciousness of the Fadernauts, everyone listening, consciousness is a non-local awareness. There's a non-locality factor to it. So with this, we see the space between this particular range can generate in both directions, a duality, it's duplexing. Essentially, we see that below that, with this little antenna piece that we see these antennas here, is that we find these chemicals, right? All kinds of strange chemicals that are in there. You find stuff like carbon, chlorine, ethanol. If you take that 1 in a billion or 10 billion and you change just one of those slightly, you just alter it, you have an entirely different makeup. We start to change the way it functions. So you might say that the guys that are the organizers, let's just say, that want to allow us to have a certain reality, the ones that we've heard about for a long time, even if we go into our religious texts or other groups, people have called them all kinds of things throughout history, Elohim, and going into these different records, these Sumerian records, and people have said Anunnaki and all kinds of things like that. You might say that there are things that are altered with us that start to change this reality. So our reality gets this cross-pollination from different angles. So then we start to look at something that we can call the anagram of reality and how that comes out to us and how it sort of, we sort of decode it from there. And what we might see is that certain events we have coming in our world right now might make sense to the fact that we're evolving and we're changing. Would you say that, has there been anything you've ever looked at that you've seen this Mandela effect before, Jimmy? Anything that you kind of thought, your memory, hey, maybe that happened before, but then it's a little different when you look back at it?
Absolutely. And right now, I think that most of us, including myself, think that something is happening every day. If you pay attention, something is incorrect.
Absolutely. And that's happening more and more. And that's what I mean by this reality changing and transforming. I would say, without getting too controversial here, because a few subjects I like to stay away from. I like to stay away from political things and, of course, staying away from, immunization topics. But we are talking a lot right now about mRNA in the news, right?
Yes.
MicroRNA.
Yes.
So mRNA, I believe, really is the future of where we're going in our medicines and stuff. Right now, it's a very, you might say it's at its infant stages, that they're using it right now. They're talking about immunizations with it. But essentially, it was originally designed for cancer. And people look at sort of mutations and stuff like that. And in the future, it's going to address a lot of other things. But you might say that with mRNA, the interesting thing is we're looking at billions of nanoparticles, okay? So we're talking about, on average, more nanoparticles going into you than there are the population of the people on Earth. So maybe we might say, eventually, you could look at the idea that with these, there's going to be all sorts of different functionality and purpose while they're there. They might even have a means in the future that these folks that we might say in these different places might have a way to turn up our evolution or to change our genetic structure, maybe even with things like changing our harmonics, the harmonic resonance. But you know what I find very interesting? When we look over at what, let's say, Ray Kurzweil is saying, do you know who that is over at Google Alphabet?
I do, yes, of course.
Incredible stuff he's saying. You might say that he said that our future, when we look at working with nanoparticles and stuff, and I think it's just amazing where this technology is being introduced to us. We're being told essentially that these sort of things are an entry point for all the technology that's going to come at the genetic level. When we look at these carrier bacterias, you're looking at indirect tech implementation of not only do we see stuff right now, Jimmy, they're talking about populating the optic nerves or using it for super soldiers and growing limbs faster, but essentially this is going to lead to very, very quickly into life extension as well. So you're going to see stuff like being able to slow down cell death in the mitochondria, being able to make it so people would use the nitrogen and hydrogen from outside of their body to make eating and drinking optional. You're going to see stuff they've already done. There's classified technologies where they've been able to make it so they injected nanoparticles, which again are these little silicon hexagonal little structures about 1 atom thick, that they put them into the lungs of in certain military technologies so that they would have the ability to be able to breathe underwater for about an hour, or to put them into the eyeballs of rats to give them night vision. And now we've moved into the infrared. So we have this sort of thing that's happening very, very quickly. But you might say, I'm going to make a prediction, and I'm not fear-mongering and not telling anybody that this is what any certain one thing is going to do. I think the way that we're going to go in the future, and I'm not saying I am endorsing this, but if you look at the Greys, for example, the Grey extraterrestrials, they always talk about at some point in their history that they lost their ability to reproduce. So I think what you're going to see in the very near future, we can sort of postulate to the idea that maybe these different ways that we're going is the fact that we are going to move into stages where in the next 5 years, they're going to tell us that there's sterility and infertility. And, in the next 10, 15 years, you're going to have the ability to basically have designer babies and stuff like that. But when we go there, Jimmy, what I'm going to make a prediction here is that just maybe you might see like a QR code to talk about ethical reproduction. Have you heard what in China, what they're doing with the social credit score?
Yes, I have. And I want to stay on this. Let me look at, okay, we got about 5 minutes before the break. So are you suggesting that the ability to speed up our evolution and move us ahead faster in our reality, or help us pump the brakes and slow us down for whatever reason, could be done with mRNA and other DNA modifications?
I would like to suggest that it's, when we look at these possibilities in the future, mRNA, by the way, was discovered by a Hungarian biochemist. And I'm not saying, I'm not endorsing or going against it or anything. I'm just saying that this technology, this biogenetic technology that is here, and what's also happening on the planet, in the next decade, in this decade, there's going to be all kinds of things like that. They're going to come to us. The current pandemic that we all faced, that is even going to evolve further. I'm told that this period that we're going to be looking at right now, then the next big virus that we're going to be looking at in the world, by the way, as I'm told, is the Nipah virus. It's not being talked about much right now, but it is it is the next big thing that they'll be prepared to look at in the future. The reason I'm mentioning that today, as well as the mRNAs, as well as this biogenetic technology, is for people not to give in to fear, to not just be worried about our future. What has been stressed to me over and over again, and I don't know whether we should get into this now or after the break, is that the human race, Jimmy, is very protected. I've asked again and again, are we going to be wiped out altogether? And that is not the case. We will not be wiped out. But what you may find with these sort of technologies is that there is going to be a means that there are going to be folks that you might say like a social credit score that will qualify and go through certain progressive steps in the future, that they will be given they're going to be hybridized, so to speak. We are going to have means in the next couple decades that you could live 350 years, go into space. There's going to be technologies even in the next 50 years you're going to see that are going to give you abilities to have consciousness-driven biology that is going to change your entire physiology. Things are going to change in incredible ways. Jimmy, have you ever heard of the Georgia Guidestones?
Of course.
Have you and I talked about that before, about the esoteric connections to them?
Oh, well, I don't know if you and I have. I've certainly covered it a lot. I've read everything on the Georgia Guidestones, and I've listened to many, including like Freeman Fly, right? And the interpretation. I miss Freeman. Where's Freeman been? I got to get Freeman on the show. But the Guidestones are very, very, very intriguing. And when we look at where we are today, especially after 2020, and you go back and you think about the Georgia Guidestones, it's a pretty trippy situation where I didn't think there was a whole lot to it before. I thought it was fun and fascinating. But yeah, the Georgia Guidestones are pretty incredible.
Well, a couple of things about that. We could go down that rabbit hole, but we might be here a while. I mean, some really quick things about the Guidestones that are really interesting is the 322 connection, which I always have fun talking about the esoteric connections to these things. But, the Guidestones were erected. They were raised on March 22nd, 1980. And, of course, 322 is also, at Princeton, there's a certain club that's there that has a skull and bones on there. It says 322. This is Genesis 322 from the Bible that talks about, these gardeners essentially that partake of that, a longer lifespan. Essentially, the 322 is also the date of the quarantines in Europe, and there are other 322 connections that are very interesting with this. But with the 500 million as the population on the Guidestones, that always makes me scratch my head. What did they mean by that? I asked about that, and keep in mind what we're talking about setting this in place with our reality and how things kind of get set forward in plans, is that I was told the 500 million is sort of talking about a special class of people. So the 500 million doesn't necessarily mean there's only 500 million people on Earth. You could just say, what if it's 500 million extraterrestrials, 500 million hybrids living amongst us, okay? Think of it like that. The other thing I was told is that China also is one of these groups that doesn't do anything overnight, Jimmy. China, if you think it's a country, there's a totally different perspective. China is not a country. They're a civilization. They've been running 6,000 years since still the time of the ancient Egyptians. They don't have a president. They have an emperor. You go back to Mao Zedong and all these groups, they have laid out a plan that's very intricately. I have been told, just like the Germans, they are working with a very specific group of extraterrestrials, and that's where they develop their technology and everything and their works. And when you look at what all those 80 million empty apartments, have you seen those, that they built 80 million empty places?
Yep.
I've been told that those are not for humans. Those are not for civilians. I know this sounds out there. Those are for the folks up there.
Really? Really?
Yeah.
Well, oh man, there's a good Don Rickles joke right here, but I'm just gonna let it go. We need to take a break. Let's do it. I am a little bit behind. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Jonny Enoch. Johnny's Strangeness Updates. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Stay with us. We'll be right back on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com. Fadernauts, when you think about the future of our country and where we're headed, do you wonder about the food supply? I do. Disruptions in the food supply chain could be disastrous, and they usually occur with little warning. That's why the smartest thing you can do today is to stockpile emergency food, water, and other essentials. I personally recommend My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, serving millions of customers for more than a decade. In fact, they're the only source my family trusts for our preparedness plan. You should too. Right now, save 20% off a full 4-week supply of delicious meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. Saving 20% helps too, doesn't it? Especially now. So go to preparewithjimmy.com and get ready. That's preparewithjimmy.com. There's no time to lose. Do it now.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Jonny Enoch is here. More with Johnny in just a minute. Right now, I want to talk to you about Virtual Shield. Virtual Shield VPN. Everybody has to have today their own VPN. I use Virtual Shield. It is the very best. It's installed on every computer that I have. It, especially now I'm in a private, completely secured, undisclosed location for a reason. And having my own VPN running on all of my computers makes sure that I am just underground. You've got to do the same thing. Virtual Shield is built from the ground up for privacy with a strict no-log policy anywhere. All right? That's the first thing. The second, they use encrypted servers all around the world. Your internet search, your traffic, everything, your location, completely secured and private. And it's simple to get. All you have to do is go to virtualshield.com/fade to black. And if you don't want to type into a browser, which I understand, you can click on the video link below. It's right there, the video link. The link below in the video description box. It'll take you straight there, Virtual Shield VPN. And when you do, you will get Virtual Shield VPN for 50% off today. Do it now. All right. Our guest tonight, Jonny Enoch, and Johnny's Strangeness updates. Now, Jonny, really quick before we move on, how can everybody follow you? Are you on Twitter?
You know, I was on Twitter, but I hadn't used it for a long time. The best place to find me is on Instagram at Esoteric Johnny. That's JONNY. Or you can find me on Facebook. And I do have a new website coming up. My current website is www.metaphysicalsource.com.
There you go. Go and follow Jonny now, and any of your questions and the stuff that he puts out there is right there on social media. It's easy to do. Okay, now I wanted to make one comment, and I have seen the trend. I've gotten a lot of emails, a lot of posts on social media about vaccinations and if I'm going to do it and where I'm at with it now. And that whole thing has just simmered down, and it's really strange to me where the fear of the vaccinations has gone away. And to that end, where I'm imagining it's got to be probably 1 billion people have been vaccinated so far worldwide, and I haven't seen a third arm growing out of somebody's forehead. Right, I haven't seen anything crazy because of it, and everybody that I know personally, I haven't gotten vaccinated yet. I'm getting ready to. I don't really have a fear of it anymore like I used to. But everybody that I know has been vaccinated. Everybody, right? It's weird how the fear went away. Why do you think that is, Jonny?
Well, you know, I think that it's a new sort of subject we're looking at here that people all never have before. We've seen such a push that it's been like this. But most certainly, this is going to be something we're going to be talking about for a while, Jimmy. You're going to see immunity passports, which I've been talking about for at least the last year or two. And I don't do so for fear-mongering. I'm not a fear-mongerer. I'm a futurist. I believe we have to move forward in the brightest and best future, and you and I are on the same page with that. And I think we are going to make it. We're going to have a great future ahead. But with this, you know, immunity passports are going to be attached to this, and they're going to be biometric and biosynthetic, Jimmy. So what that means, even if you Superbad, the movie, how he had Mick Lovett as his ID?
I do.
Well, even if you were able to fake it right now, what people don't realize is with the nanoparticulates is that these are going to be not only biometric very quickly, so when you walk into an airport like Heathrow, your full body identification is going to be there, but they're biosynthetic. So every lot number, every batch number is traceable that you can see in a person's body eventually as they've had. And that's something that our regular doctors don't know yet, but in about 2 or 3 years' time, you're going to see that more. Let's just call that my prediction. Secondly, one of the things that you're going to find with this is that this is around a $36 trillion industry projected over this decade. So it's going to be like all kinds of different means. Everyone wants to put their horse in the race. Now, I'm not endorsing anybody to do anything, and I'm not endorsing any of these. But to me, I tend to look at the ones that are out right now and say, you know, what would be the single application one? The double application ones are very, very interesting. And of course, we're moving into a brand new territory with these. And I think people have had their apprehension about it. But you notice one of the things that's really interesting about this, not to go too far down that rabbit hole, Jimmy, but when this thing first came out, before the various variants, we were told that it didn't affect, you know, young people or kids. You remember hearing that?
I do.
The interesting thing about this is that in China, the Chinese scientists, they've already identified 2,000 500 different variants already. So then all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, there's the Brazilian variant, and the Brazilian variant affects this and that and the other thing. I think it's one of those things that, with the immunity passports that you'll see that eventually not only travel, but going to the store to buy milk or a loaf of bread will be there. And again, we're going through massive changes as a whole in a society. And I just think that overall, we're going to get through this period, and we will move forward into the future. And then, like you said, people were talking about this a lot at the beginning, and thankfully things are changing course in our conversation, and we're focusing on bigger pictures, hopefully.
And there's a big except here, though. Except it's one thing to understand the vaccine, and nobody wants to get sick, and you don't want your children sick and your parents. That's one thing. But it would be a complete invasion of privacy if suddenly employers and businesses are going to be able to restrict what you do and the invasion of privacy that entails. I'm not so sure if that's going to fly. I can't speak for Canada or other countries, but here in the United States, there's going to be enough is enough. Getting a vaccine passport so you can go shopping or get a job or things is a funky feeling to me. Now, it's a whole nother matter. You and I are going to Egypt. That's international travel, right? And to board the plane, Egypt has their rights as their country to have their own requirements to enter the country. And you have that in customs in any country that you go into. You don't know vaccine or coronavirus or not. You don't know when you're getting off the plane if you're getting into that country until they stamp your passport and let you through. You don't know. It could be any reason. So that's always been there.
What if Jimmy? What about this? What if you eventually take that passport, that digital identification system? Let's just say you decide to attach it to a blockchain sort of currency eventually. You decide that you can also limit the certain regions with certain immunological privileges for zones A, B, and C.
That's right. I can see that. I can see that coming. And technology allows this to happen and allows it to happen very easily. So, yeah, I could absolutely see zone restrictions for the planet, for that matter. And it's crazy. Now, like I said, traveling outside of the United States and having the requirements needed to enter another country, that is not our decision. That's not an American, United States decision. That's another country. I get that. And if I have to have that to travel, I get that part of it. But here in the United States, for me to get into a supermarket to go shopping, that's something else altogether. And employment as a requirement for employment, I don't know. If an employer can come to you and say, I know you've been working for us for 10 years, but do you have your passport yet, right? Your vaccine passport. Okay, you don't? Okay, well, you don't work here anymore until you get one. That's I don't know if that's going to fly. I don't know of any administration that would be able to push that through.
Well, you might say that we're going through a lot of changes right now. You've heard of CRISPR-Cas9. You'd have heard of ways that the genome can be changed. There are changes. There are evolutionary steps that are happening. And, this comes back to this idea of what we talked about with these gardeners or caretakers of humanity and kind of things that are kind of ushered forward. Jimmy, when I was on your show before, we talked about Sylvia Browne. Do you remember that?
I do. I still have the book.
It's amazing. So here's the thing. When you look at Sylvia Browne, she made some amazing predictions earlier on in her days when she was working with Francine, her guide. Daniel Brinkley, he would tell me he'd be backstage. He tells me he was backstage with Sylvia, and she said she was on fire. I mean, she'd go onto the stage, whether it was Larry King. He would do shows with her. He would tell me he'd be there with Larry King and everything, and he said she was unbelievable. And then later on, when her conditions kicked in, I think was it Alzheimer's or dementia, when it started to kick in for her, her connection started to get faded. So, her earlier writings and stuff that she was talking about was amazing. And you and I have discussed this before, that our governments not only use remote viewers and psychics. I mean, the first country to sort of do that was Czechoslovakia, the Czech Republic. The Germans were doing it, okay? We know the Soviets were doing it behind the Iron Curtain. We know that in America, we had SRI, Stanford Research Institute, with Dr. Hal Puthoff, Uri Geller, Ingo Swann, Pat Price, which is out in Burbank and those areas near you. So we got these incredible psychic studies. So I go, and one of the things you and I discussed on the Sylvia Brown show is that Sylvia Brown makes a prediction that in the near future on this, she says we're going to have acid rain in domed cities. Do you remember us talking about that?
I do.
So, of course, that's one of my questions. That's one of the things that, I had to ask. I sit down, I'm like, are we going to get this acid rain in domed cities? And so I was told that we're not going to have that. The acid rain's not going to happen. But I had another surprising answer, Jimmy, that came to me in that question. He told me that about 20 years ago, they had military technology already in place to create a force field around a base. That apparently we've already had this technology. We have it. It's a classified technology. And this force field goes around a base so that a bird could fly into the base and it would be okay. Birds and little creatures could go in and out. But if a missile was to be fired into the base, it would take that fast object and it would reverse its momentums and just destroy the missile upon contact with this electrical force field. And I was told that this works just like the airport scanners that we have here on Earth, I was told by this person. They said to me that it basically scans the biorhythms. So if it's a little bird, the biorhythms will be okay. If it's a biochemical structure, that it will also have ways to look at this, because everybody listening to this, you, me, the Fadernauts, we all have a frequency. And we all give off about 100 watts of frequency. And it's interesting because when I was in Serbia, in Belgrade, doing an investigation on the lost inventions of Nikola Tesla, Croatia and Serbia are just incredible countries, just beautiful places. I was told that the Serbs talk about the idea that they still have a hidden Tesla blueprint or technology underneath the Tesla Museum and other areas, that Tesla had invented a force field technology to go over Serbia that did something very, very similar. So this is a rather interesting sort of concept. But the good news is I was told that this would not be in this particular timeline or area that we're in currently, that we wouldn't get that acid rain. So one good thing that we can look forward to.
The other, there was a conversation, some questions that you were asking that got into energy and propulsion systems. And can we talk about that for a second?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I would love to get into that. So essentially, there's a couple ways I was explained this. One of the things I was explained about this when we got into how the UFOs were getting into here, it's sort of like Victor Schauberger, his sort of stuff where he talks about, I was told that how the craft work. There's two ways I was talked to about this. I was talked about this to picture a mountain, okay? So if we get a mountain that has a gushing stream of water, I was told, and this is kind of like, again, looking at our reality and how we're working through our current reality and resonance and this. If you take water that's gushing at the top of a mountain and it's coming down, the ideal place to be in this water as it's coming down the mountain wouldn't be at the very top, because it's gushing down too quickly. And if you're at the bottom, it's going to come crashing down very hard on you. So the best place is in the middle, first of all. But I was told to sort of look at the fish, like whether you're looking at a salmon that's a spawning salmon, or you're looking at a trout like Schauberger was. if you look at this fish, you know, Jimmy, have you ever seen a fish like that in the middle of water, that it can just kind of sit there? The water could be rushing, could be raging, but the fish can just kind of effortlessly sit in one place. You ever seen that?
Absolutely.
Okay, so how that works is that the fish has this like force field around it, which is a slime coat. Okay, so the slime coat that's around the fish, it essentially protects it from bacteria. But it also, if we look at that bacteria, it also has in the nanobacterias and everything, we know that there is this type of electromagnetism. Okay, so it's just like we know that 98 to 99% of all life exists at the quantum subspace, at the level of nanobacteria and below. And that's a whole other interesting conversation. You and I could go down sometime about all the very advanced civilizations and things that are existing at the micro. I'm told that at the levels below the subatomic particles and everything, that there's entire advanced life forms there as well. But if you look down at this level at where the fish has, this slime around it is essentially creating an ambient electric current. This is a subtle, a subtle field of force. It's like the atoms are changing. And I was told this is exactly how our UFOs are able to travel this force field, travel at very, very fast speeds underwater. It's how submarines work. That's one way, that we move into that. Have you ever heard of that with these fields around them?
Yeah, because they're not affected by the friction from the water, and they are able to and not disturb the water around it and move forward. Yes, or move in any direction.
Okay, exactly. So the other part about the UFOs that's very, very interesting, and I mean, we might have to come back into this idea of our vehicles of perception, because there's so much there that I could get into. What I was told about all kinds of classified biology and things about how our consciousness actually works and is understood. But the interesting thing is that I was told we have to look at this as a quantum theoretician, that how our reality is resetting every 100 billion or trillion times a second. So I was told, when you're thinking about UFOs, how do you quantify one moment of reality? When we look at these things, I was told we could even look at something like gravity. So when we look at gravity, we can look at its relation to electromagnetic propagation. And when we take this electromagnetic property, we can look at something like a gravitational wave and how that works to propagate outwards. Does it stop to propagate, or does it nullify? When we look at this, we start to relate this with our UFOs and how they can come in and out of our reality in such a way that you might see a UFO one time on one side of a mountain, and then its harmonic resonance changes, and all of a sudden it pops out, it's on the other side of the mountain. Mm-hmm. You could see UFOs vanish or disappear. They can be at one place or the other. So I was told the best way to relate this to is some of the laser experiments. Now, Jimmy, I don't know if you or the Fadernauts have ever heard of this, but one of the ways, I'm sure you have, but have you ever heard of the Lure Observatory, where they shine lasers up at the moon?
100%. Love it, too.
It's cool. It's the coolest thing. If people tell you we didn't go to the moon, we did go to the moon, but we put reflectors up on the moon, and they reflect back lasers. But one of the things that we might look at with this when we shoot a laser up to the moon or Mars is that the laser sometimes takes longer to get there than it does on the way back. So we might ask ourselves, why is that? Why is it different from the sending and receiving? So I was asked the question again and again. I was asked this question when I was asking about the UFOs, is that who says that light has a finite speed? So who says out there, okay, the speed of light is only one configuration? I was essentially told that when you go down at the subatomic level to the nuclei, you could take a laser, for example, you could take one of these and you could attach that electron with that negative charge, and essentially that light from the photon, we could change the substantial density. We could essentially take the subatomic structure and we could shoot it through a different type of material. So it has to travel through a different type of media, send a particle through that media a quadrillion times. So essentially what we're saying here is that our reality is like the layers of a dermatitis. It's like skin, these layers that we have to go through. And this material can be very subjective. It can change. So when you're in a UFO, I was told, you could flick a button and you could materialize or dematerialize or change the coordinates just by changing this harmonic resonance. It's just like you and I right now. You and I have discussed this before, that your body with your atoms, if we change the harmonic resonance, if we change the atoms in your body so they're not relative to the floor below you, you're going to fall right through the floor, right?
Your body would fall apart.
Exactly. And it's relatively easy to do that. You can change it. So I want to just, if we really could quickly, relate this, what we just said about the UFOs. Because I don't want to run out of time today either, because before we leave, I got some stuff that's coming in the future, as well as a massive UFO sighting that is a juicy tidbit that we can talk about. So how much time do we have left?
We've got an hour. We've got 1 minute right now, and then another hour on top of that.
You know what? I like the sounds of that. That's one juicy hour. So I'll tell you what, let's save the next part that we're going to talk about reality. Let's talk about that when we come back from the break. But with that, Jimmy, I will say that our UFOs, they have technology in them and abilities to interact with us, sometimes be organic, that are beyond, our wildest dreams.
Well, Einstein, who is in back of you, just grinned a little bit when you said slowing down the speed of light. He's like, no, Johnny, no. I watched him. I actually watched him grin. Jonny Enoch is our guest. This is Johnny's Strangeness Updates. I am your host, Jimmy Church. We'll take our break right here. When we come back, we're going to discuss our reality. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Stay with us.
Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Why is it we're not very good with our health regimen until it's too late? We don't put oil in the car until the engine blows up. When the body's out of balance, your health is not so good. Give your body some love. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. Try our Life Change Tea, which cleanses you from harmful intruders. A clean colon is one of the ways to bring the body in balance. We also carry organic supplements to help you get where you need to go. So do your body a favor. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. You can even visit our sales page to save some dough. Does anybody call money dough anymore? Anyway, if you're looking for short, helpful health tips, go to YouTube and punch in Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. So, log on to GetTheT.com, shop, get balanced, then learn some cool tips at Health Matters Now. You'll be glad you did. That's GetTheT.com.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRARadio.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from River Moon. Just click on the River Moon Coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact. KGRARadio.com.
When you're in the house for longer periods of time, you can see them flying or running across the floor. Ooh, yuck. They're unhealthy, gross, and disgusting. Bugs. I loathe bugs. We keep a clean home, but occasionally bugs show up. Well, I found something that is tougher than bugs. Orange Guard. On contact, it kills hidden bugs, including ants, roaches, and fleas. Plus, Orange Guard is a residual repellent. All of the ingredients of Orange Guard are on the FDA generally recognized as safe list. Orange Guard may be used around food, humans, and pets. It comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Orange Guard. Available at orangeguard.com, Whole Foods, and Ace Hardware.
Gold loves chaos, uncertainty, and disarray. History shows us what gold does when people aren't sure about the government, the stock market, their jobs, or their retirement savings. Our national debt is skyrocketing. Gold and other precious metals are a defense measure against inflation and a stock market that might take years to recover. So what can you do right now to protect yourself? Call United Gold Group. We offer gold and other precious metals delivered securely within 72 hours. Are you worried about the stock market? We can also help you set up a real gold or silver IRA or a 401k. Safe and secure. United Gold Group makes gold ownership affordable. Call now and get up to $2,500 in free gold or silver with a qualified IRA. Call 800-753-8534. That's 800-753-8534 or visit UnitedGoldGroup.com.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why fade to black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, and our guest tonight is Jonny Enoch. We'll get to Jonny in a second. I just want to tell everybody what's going on. I jump over to YouTube to hang out for a second and kind of do a little spying in the background. There is an entire discussion with hundreds of people right now over on YouTube about what they call money. Everybody's got their own little word, right? And I was fascinated with that, so I jump in. I go, and it's true. For me, it's ducks. Ducks quacking in the pond. How many ducks do you got quacking? Right? And I don't know where I picked that up, but it's been decades. Jonny, what do you call money?
What do I call money? You know, I call it, cash, or some people call it dineros. I don't know. I guess we get dinero from all the earlier movies, Goodfellas and all.
So you just call it cash? Ducks, man, ducks. Yeah, ducks quacking in the pond. Oh, man, Jonny just goes with cash. All right.
I like it, just cold, hard cash.
All right, there you go. There you go. Whole discussion, man. They're deep in it right now over there on YouTube. All right, reality. Our reality. I have no idea what my reality is anymore. I really don't. I'm fascinated with the subject, totally. All right, let's go there.
Okay, so, we could get crazy into the reality discussion. We could go into how, if we wanted to sound all scientific, we could say stuff like everyone watching this has a unique neurophysiology and biodiversity, meaning you all have these different vehicles of perception. You all see things differently, okay? If you ask somebody from a scientific background or biology background, they'll start talking about how your reality is nothing more than neurological and physiological discharges. But
that's right. That's right. Trillions of times a second, your reality is established by your brain, and if it wanted to mess with you, it could literally change everything, how you perceive everything, not only yourself, but your environment, your home, your car, anything that's physical around you. It is all created by your brain. Now, that's the science side.
That's it. And the crazy part about that is that you have light of the photons that are coming into your eyes through the rods and cones in your eyes, and they're coming up through the optic nerve and to the visual cortices. But the crazy part about that, and this is something Danyan always jokes about in his, the Danyan way of saying it with his southern drawl. He'll say, Johnny, don't you think it's funny that the divine has a sense of humor? He'll say that when the light comes into your eyes, it's upside down, when you look at the optic nerve. But this crazy part about this is that there's no light in the brain. The brain comes in there, and it's pitch black in there. So it's being decoded into this incredible thing in your anagram of reality that we're seeing. So we just finished talking about ETs and UFOs getting here. And, what does that do to us? What does interacting, let's say, with ETs do? Well, I've been told that, for example, Jimmy, the people that you have on your show that are extraterrestrial contactees, they come on your show, there's technology to tell who these people are. Because as soon as you've interacted with extraterrestrials for any amount of time, I'm told, for the most part, your atomic structure changes. There's sort of a radioactive component, especially if you've left the planet. If you've left the planet, it might seem like you've only been gone for a few hours, but you could be gone for years. You could be gone for years and come back. There's all kinds of stuff that can happen to you. So we know that there's all kinds of aspects to these vehicles that we have here. But essentially we're seeing in this, you have an entire universe in you right now. And one of the things I was told, Jimmy, that's very interesting that they understand in these classified sciences about our biology and our physiology and our makeup. When you go look under an atom, okay, let's go down to the subatomic structure. You have quarks, neutrinos, hadrons, leptons. We go down to gluons,
muons.
Yeah, right. Have you ever heard of muons?
I just said it. I just said muons, yes.
Oh, yeah, well, you cut out there. Well, sorry, I didn't hear that part. We're told now that in one of those, we can fit not only, let's talk about not only the information that be on all of our planet, but imagine you could fit all the information that's ever happened in our entire universe right into one of those. You have in you right now the most incredible aspect. Each and every single one of you is a universe. You're the master of your own universe. You could unfold it into an entire universe. And I was told when we go down to the macro, this is there, right there. You don't need a lot of space. You don't need a large underground facility in Utah at the NSA to store all this. You have it right now. And essentially, we'd have to say that we could put that all in the center of your mitochondria. Each and every single one of you has something like 100 trillion billion cells. So when we go down to the subatomic level, we're looking at virtual matter because information is not physically quantifiable. So the idea is, what we're saying here, Jimmy, is that you go and look up some information for me. You have an incredible amount of information, man. Like when I talk to you, whether I'm talking to you on the phone or on the show, you're able to pull up all kinds of interesting facts for me, and that brain of yours of all the facts about Egypt, strange things that have taken place, historical things. I don't know how you do it sometimes, man, but you got this huge index that's in there. And the thing is that we look at that information. We can't give it a physical construct for that information from that Zeppelin you saw when you were growing up. You can't do that. There's no physical construct. So essentially, this information runs between two synaptic links. So again, we got to bring this back into how our reality, this quantum multiplicity of our reality is manipulated and how the events in our world take place. Stuff can come from the future and influence us right now. Stuff can come from the past and influence us right now. Stuff on every level. Now, I was told what's really interesting, Jimmy, is that to start thinking about this idea. Right now, you and all the Fadernauts and everyone watching this, none of you are really solely in charge of your bodies. Your bodies, and I'm not talking about your own sovereign rights. Your sovereign rights, your sovereignty is a universal trait. Everywhere in the universe, sovereignty is very important. I'm talking about the fact that each and every single one of you is sharing your body with 6 or 8 kilos of other life forms. 6 or 8 kilos of other life forms around your body at all time. I mean, this is also why we take showers, right? We have these other life forms. Now, the other thing with that is that all the cells then are oscillating with these other life forms. So essentially, what we look at with this is that you might say that in this universe we live in this multiverse that we live in as well, is that we're also sharing this with other types of multidimensional intelligences. And you could say that at any given time, you are sharing your body with 7,000 or 8,000 different different life forms, electromagnetic life forms. If you're a very astute and very trained person with meditation or consciousness or psychic ability, maybe you could bring that down to 6 or 7. But at any time we have these. Have you ever noticed that some weeks you feel like you're very energetic, like you feel really great, like you can do anything, bounds of energy, and some weeks you feel like something's holding you back or weighing you down? Have you ever experienced that?
Yeah, but I usually attribute it to like bad shrimp salad.
Well, essentially that that could do it. I could see that. But, you know, the one way we got to look at this, we go into the Buddhist doctrines and we go look at who we are and how our consciousness works, we really start to learn that the only war that we're at is really with ourselves. And everything that we think is outside of ourselves is really that inner part. And to get to that inner part, the difficult part is we have to go gazillions of meters deep. But, you know, this is where we get into this idea that we always learn about getting into nirvana, going into this nothingness and emptying ourselves out. There's this essential eternal suicide of the eternal self to get to this selfless existence. So this reality that we're kind of being perceived around in this body of ours, then we start moving over into this idea. I'm sure you've explored this many times of that, you know, Bostrom's ideas and others about simulation theory. You've discussed that on shows, right?
I certainly have, yes.
What is your idea about that? Do you think we're living in a simulation?
Well, Nick Bostrom's ideas and theories behind that, because he's such a smart guy, first off. But when you hear him explain it, or Max Tegmark, you listen to the way that they put it together, because you know, we're talking about very educated physicists that understand the math and the algorithms and the possibilities of it. So, is it possible? Well, if you know and understand how your brain works, and it's all electricity, and it's all ones and zeros, it's just all information, and you understand what gaming is, and you know how you can get immersed into a video game, into a world for 14 hours. You can't even function in the real world when you come off of a game like that, because you're still in that alternate reality. You're still living it, and I've done it. Well, is it possible that we are in a giant simulation? Well, yeah, it is possible. Is it real? Well, to have Johnny, I don't want to take up the time on the show, but when you get to very intelligent people in Silicon Valley, in the tech industries, that are running these companies, that understand technology and software and what it and they, even Elon Musk, where they are talking about the possibility of this, and not only that, the possibility of it, but the odds of it, right? They'll hit you with the numbers. Well, the odds of us being in a simulation is 50-50. It's like, holy crap, right? Okay, so they are smarter than I am, and you have to go and consider it. You have to ponder the possibilities of this. And what about free will? Well, you have free will in a video game, right? You don't really consider that, do you? So is it possible? Yes, I do. I do believe that it is possible that you and I right now are ones and zeros.
Well, yeah, that's essentially when we look at this idea of how our quantum computing works, which is very interesting. And again, you and I have discussed that on previous shows on how things are changing in that idea and how information is processed. We're looking at our entire universe, operating in these sort of ways. And, it's very interesting, Jimmy, because, moving into these ideas, I have been told certain realities that are here that this might sound strange for people. I know what I'm about to say is kind of sounds crazy, but let me just put this forward to you, that what if there was an advanced sort of AI technology that was already present, that it's not necessarily going to interrupt with your free will per se, but it was aware of thoughts that you might have that are taking place on this planet, of what people are thinking, if people are talking about something that shouldn't be talked about, if there was a way to interrupt it, an artificial intelligence system. And then we get into another idea of what we call synthetic intelligence. But imagine something on our planet that sort of worked like this. This is another very, very interesting and all new type of monitoring system, you could say, that would be there, that goes outside of our typical Snowden idea of using your phones and the NSA. Let's just say that there is a very, very advanced means of doing this that one day you'll perhaps find out about. But Jimmy.
Well, is there a way to know? Is there a way to know? Is there a way to wake up like Neo? Right?
Have you ever been talking about something? And I mean, the average person may not have a challenge with this, but have you ever been talking about something and all of a sudden you just kind of glitched out? You might have been interviewing someone about something very important, something that might have been sensitive, and all of a sudden your brain just kind of glitched out and you couldn't think of the words you were about to say next.
I did that today after I ate some shrimp salad, and I still don't feel quite right about it. But and picked up where I've left off, and suddenly I've turned to people before and like, did you guys see that? And they're like, dude, you glitched out, right? you stopped and started. Yes, I've done that.
Now, I know that's going to sound sci-fi, and I know people might hear these things and they think, my God, that is so sci-fi. And I'm telling you, Jimmy, I know even when I'm talking to people about the realm of stuff in Egypt that's there. I mean, and we're going to get into that when we go there, that, the things, why the Soviets were in Egypt, why they built the Aswan High Dam, why they flooded things, what they found there, the bodies they found that were incredible. The Stargate stuff a lot of that's been surgically extracted, the stuff that's there. I talk to people who are academics, scholars, PhDs, Egyptologists, people that most are pretty cool, but there are some people that will give you pushback and they roll their eyes and they think it's crazy and they'll challenge you. And that's just part of the territory of doing this type of research. But the stuff we're talking about today might be so out of people's reality scope, and some of it might even, upset people. And it's just one of those things that would change and strange things in evolution. We just kind of embrace things and move forward. But what we got to realize is that we think we're so important, Jimmy. We think we're so important on this planet. We're floating around this little rock in space. But really, as it's been told to me, if you go 10,000 light years from here, you have 20 million solar systems, Jimmy. And it's very, very busy with a lot of activity going on there. Just to give your listeners, just to give the Fadernauts a little perspective, there's more planets in our galaxy than all the grains of sands in all of our beaches on Earth. Just think about that for a moment. That is a lot going on, just in our galaxy alone. We're not the only ones out there. We are progressing, and that's why we are like these infants. And we're making we're a zoological progress, but we're making these steps that we're moving forward in our evolution. Our biology, our genetics are changing, our technology is changing, where we're headed is changing. And you could say we have help. We do have help, and some of it might not seem pleasant at first, and there's certain decisions that go through, but things will change, and they're going to change in a major way. Now, let's change.
Hold on for a second. We got to back up. Why is it that I glitch out or anybody else glitches out? Are you saying that there is an AI running on this planet right now, and it's the AI that's glitching, and I glitch with it?
I will say this. There's going to be times when you glitch out when it's just sort of maybe something's not firing right in the brain, or maybe you're too tired, or you can't think of something. That's all normal. I'm not talking about that. And people are going to think, when they hear that, they're going to say, okay, that sounds crazy. What I'm suggesting is that there is in place for very sensitive subjects that are in that realm and in these areas, an artificial intelligence-driven system that is aware of what people are thinking, what's being communicated, and let's just say there is the ability to fast forward and rewind almost any event on this planet. Or let's say that something wanted to go back and take a picture at the back of your head or a different area. Let's just say that you might say that there is something in place like that. If something was really sensitive or wasn't supposed to come out from the folks up there, let's say we'll call them the gardeners or the caretakers, that kind of stuff. This is what I've been told by these folks in very interesting positions, and they're very serious when they talk to me about it. So
well,
I'm just saying that.
Okay. So if we did hit the rewind button, I've got a rewind button right in front of me, we wouldn't know. We would know,
right?
Right? We wouldn't know.
Well, let's say, okay, let's say you go onto a social media platform and you type something in, you're going to get a fact checker box that's going to come up. Sometimes your post will just be removed automatically due to community guideline standards. Now, imagine if something like that was in place, but it was so surreptitiously put there, hidden in the background, that you didn't realize it. So you came out and you wanted to talk about something, or you were trying to mention it, but it was so quick that it caught it right away, or something, another event came in that interrupted it. And it seems so natural to human progression. That's how I've been explained. And I know this sounds like a mind trip, but this is how I was told that this sort of AI is sort of implemented already, but we just don't realize.
Well, the brain works that way. I've seen some of the math and some of the studies on this where, and I think the number is like 5 or 6 seconds, right? And that's a pretty long time where you're making a decision. I'm speaking, I'm saying these words right now, but 6 seconds ago, my brain already made that decision for me. That's a trippy thought. And if you apply that across the board, you start thinking in those terms. Were you thinking that you are making an instant decision to turn left or right, or to buy this or not buy that, or put something back on the shelf? Whatever those decisions are, they were already made for you. Your brain is controlling you. You know, it's controlling your mind. It's in front of what you are thinking, and that's bizarre. But that's a scientific fact. It's really, and all of these measurements have been done, where somebody goes and picks up a pencil and sets it back down, where they have measured the brain making that decision 5 or 6 seconds before you even think about picking up the pen and making the move.
Or look at what Gary Schwartz did. That Gary Schwartz did with the Heart Math Institute. You know, that the heart also had this sort of intelligence that was coming up. But you know, with that, speaking of our reality, I wanted to when I was getting these kind of questions, I was looking at certain aspects that we have coming up in the foreseeable future. You know, one of the things I was asking about was that incident in the Suez Canal. And I was kind of explained that the Suez Canal incident is kind of an experiment on not only economics, the effect that it would have on economics, along with the sort of biogenetic and technologies that are being tried out on our planet. But you saw that in the news, right? The guy went to go check his cappuccino, and the whole thing basically, look what that did, and basically shut the world down for a bit.
Right.
So that's sort of a trial test, which was very interesting just to kind of see where that would go untold. But I was told altogether, some of the things we're going to see coming up right now is we're going to notice a lot of severe and strange weather patterns in America. I'm told that this has not so much to do with the global warming, but it is basically our spatial coordinates in space, where we are, how that's changing, a lot of how we communicate with how the Earth communicates with our star, you know, every 8 minutes at the speed of light or whatever it is, that changes. I was told we're going to have crustal displacement in Africa and the Mediterranean, changes on the Azores fault line. We can also look to coming up here into this year, we're going to see these lower level tornadoes that are going to become more common with La Nina becoming the cooler version, El Nino. I was also told, about the underwater mantle and the water rising, that we shouldn't be alarmed by this, but we'll see it in our oceans and other areas. Jimmy, there's more water on this earth. There's enough water on this earth to cover things all the way up into, Mount Everest and beyond that. We could go up to the highest peaks. We can go on there because there's more water in the earth. You've heard this, right? More water in the earth than there is on the earth's surface.
I've heard that, yes.
Okay, but this isn't necessarily from glacial melting or anything like this. This is an expansion that's taking place. I was told, we'll see some more sun discharges with EMP materials. One of the things I was told, and we do have ways of deflecting this, but when we look at these large power outages, we saw recently with, Texas and places in Canada, other areas, the sun discharges from this EMP material. One of the most interesting thing I was told that we can look to this year, aside from, these different changes we're talking about with weather, I was told that one of the things they're very concerned about right now in this world of, you want to talk about UFOs and classified, or disclosure, is the idea that there is a very large platform that's about 50 to 100 kilometers wide. Very, very large. And sorry, I could change it to miles. But what we have there with this very large platform is that it is supposed to be arriving at the end of this year, and it's going to be visible close to the area of where the space station would be. And it's going to be an enormous platform that is very, very visible. And because there's a whole group of folks that are looking to be picked up and leave this earth from this area that are here for whatever visiting purposes, for the programs that they're involved in. And I was told that this platform that is supposed to be coming here, they're very concerned about how to cover up this event, but it would be a very, very visible event that is possibly going to be a disclosure subject by the end of this year. There's that sort of talk that we're going to have undeniable sort of visual proof. And now, whether that is able to be covered up by some folks that don't want that kind of idea coming out, that's one idea. But I was told that that is a very, very strong possibility. That is just not going to be able to be something that we can stop people from seeing. I was also told...
Okay, I've got 60 seconds. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say that with that kind of sighting, there's no debate after that if UFOs are real.
No, not that size. And I want to talk about that more when we come back after the break. Our guest tonight, Jonny Enoch. It's Johnny's Strangeness Updates. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Stay with us. We'll be right back for overtime right after this short break.
To my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I take Life Change Tea supplements every single day. It's what I do. Click on their banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee.
Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today.
This is Billy Carson with ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Forbidden Knowledge TV has just reached its 1-year anniversary. That's right, 1 year. And as a show of appreciation, we are giving all new subscribers a free 30-day trial of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's 30 days to binge watch thousands of movies, documentaries, conferences, workshops, lectures, yoga classes, meditation courses, and so much more. So log on to ForbiddenKnowledge.tv from your computer or mobile device, or get the Forbidden Knowledge TV app on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon, iTunes, or Google Play today, and use coupon code 30daysfree. That's coupon code 30 days free on ForbiddenKnowledge.tv today.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JamieChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Jonny Enoch. Strangeness updates, and we're going into overtime. I always enjoy this part of the show, and okay, Jonny, I need to go back and talk about this platform for a second. And I saw some, and I don't know if it's related or not, some other chatter about platforms a couple of weeks ago. Is this the same event?
You know, I haven't seen the other conversations. I just was told that the talk in this world of the folks that are working behind the scenes, that are kind of into these sort of world that we're talking about, they're concerned because there is a certain chatter. Is this going to be covered up? Is this something that people can handle? Because remember, bringing it back to the conversation we had at the beginning, there's one group, and we use that loosely, there's one group that wants to speed us up and believes we can handle this sort of information. They think we can take this. And they're the ones that are kind of leaking this stuff out and allowing this kind of to come out. And that's why people that come on your show, the Darcy Weirs, the people like that, they're getting help to put this information out, to help people understand what it is, where we're going with it. But there's another group that thinks, hey, these stupid humans, they're destroying each other. They can't handle this. Let's just slow them down. Let's not give them all the information. And at the same time, you got countries that also don't want us to know about these things because they're working with these sort of folks. They have this sort of technology and things that it talks about. So it very well could be the same platform. All I was told is that this platform is something that almost can't be avoided, Jimmy. It's so enormous that there's no getting around it, that everyone would be able to see it. And it's supposed to be an event they're anticipating returning by the end of this year. Now,
The word platform, that description is interesting to me. What can you tell us about that?
Well, I'm not sure if it was used to basically describe a UFO or if it's like a kind of like a mothership or a cigar. I do know that, these folks, they'll say they don't want to talk out of school, so they use sort of things like that to describe UFOs without saying the word UFO. So I do know that it's an event that there's going to be a large object that essentially is going to be enormous, and there's no getting around it. It's a platform.
Now, does the United States government know about this?
I think that the groups that are connected to different areas, the above top secret classified sort of groups, they know about it for sure. In the intelligence community, that's for certain.
Well, and what is interesting here is this.
Black Roach.
Let's not forget about Oumuamua, because it appeared, nobody saw it, wasn't picked up, came around the sun, took a turn, and left our solar system as it picked up speed and was gone. We never even got a chance to get a picture. There is no images out there of Oumuamua. And so the possibility of something entering our solar system from interstellar space undetected is 100% possible. The other part about this is Oumuamua, which was about 100 meters long, right, 300 feet, 40 feet wide, 50 feet wide, sounds pretty big. But you are talking about something much, much bigger. But it is possible for this to get into our solar system very quickly and get here to planet Earth before we even have a chance to react to it.
There's something there's events like that happen all the time that we're not aware of, that we're constantly being visited. But this is one of those events that very much sounds like exactly what you're describing. The two could be the same. I want to say though, Jimmy, how much time do we have left?
We have about 20 minutes.
Okay, perfect.
Now, okay, well, I want to stay on this for another second. And you're saying that it's going to park in orbit here at Earth. So if it's that big, we'll be looking up into the night sky and observing this.
That's correct. And so it's essentially the folks that have been here, I'm being told, are going to be descending, and we'll see that this is going to be here for a while. Well, they need to go into this, whether it's docking, leaving. I'm told that it's quite an enormous event. That is one of those things. The reason we're bringing it up right now is that it's something that is potentially going to be a very big conversation by the end of the year if there's not a way to cover it up. That's the problem. Can you cover it up? Can you make it so it's not visible? But it wouldn't be something that would be that easy to cover up from the sounds of it if it's that enormous, that size, right?
Very interesting. Now, if it doesn't happen, then, well, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. There's always a story why something doesn't happen.
They always say that, right?
Yeah, it's very interesting. Okay, well, with all the talk of UFOs and UAPs and the Senate Intelligence Committee and reports and the Navy and disclosure and the media and everything that has been discussed over the last 3 years, I've thought about this so much that it seems like there's something that's about to happen that the government doesn't have control of, and they need to get this ET UFO contact narrative out now. So the people of Earth are having this conversation. So when this big event does happen that's out of their control, we're not going to go into shock.
Exactly. You have a lot coming out. I mean, there's a lot that's changing on Earth, and in the next couple of decades, this conversation is going to come up more and more about extraterrestrials. This idea is coming more into our realm of existence. We were talking earlier about this idea that the Chinese are building these 80 million empty apartments. We talked about the 500 million on the Guidestones. Are we looking at this idea that we're moving into this hybrid civilization to also coexist with these folks, and how we're changing alongside this idea? We are moving into a new realm of possibilities, that's for certain. But I've also been told, Jimmy, there's a lot of changes coming up. I'll skip over some of the more mundane stuff. I mean, there is stuff coming up with China as well in the next 2-3 years. We're going to be, I've been told we're going to be looking at areas like where Alaska is in northern Canada, the areas and parts were exposed, and certain concerns in China's development and movement. And again, this is connected to an ET agenda as well, I'm told, in certain, having this sort of level of a confidence boost. But speaking of China and where things are going, I was told directly that when the bottom falls out of the cryptos, oil's going to go up for a while. It's going to go through the roof. I was told that with Elon Musk right now that we are looking at, the interesting thing with Musk, why is Musk talking about cryptos? I was told Musk is going crazy talking about cryptos with Bitcoin, and he's talking about Dogecoin and all that sort of stuff and doing backdoor deals with Warren Buffett, is because Tesla right now, Tesla is taking a bit of a dive. And part of that is due to China. China's developing very quickly. And one of the things with them is that China is where, where Tesla's manufactured, right? The Teslas are manufactured through, we got the connection with China. China is saying that there is a concern, of course, with the Teslas, because there's a concern that the chips could be put into there and then could be monitoring things that are coming in from that country. And China has an intranet, like an internal internet, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's quite an interesting dynamic there. So we know that the one thing with Elon, though, Elon's big mission right now is he keeps talking about how he wants to go to Mars. So that's the biggie, right?
It is the biggie right now, and I want to talk about Perseverance too. But go ahead, Elon and Mars.
Right. So we know he's doing that with Bigelow. Bigelow's doing that too. And so that's the idea of going there. So I did ask about Elon, and I have to be careful what I say about Mars because, there's so much disinformation out about Mars also. Over the years, Jimmy, you've had all kinds of people come on. I mean, we think about the Randy Kramers and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I have been told that for the last few decades, we have developed on Mars. A lot of people out there, there's some people out there that might roll their eyes at this if they're not used to these sort of conversations. But the way Mars has been described is that the last few decades that we've done stuff up there is that there are certain altitudinous sort of conditions that you might have that you might say, let's say you're going to go for breathing or surviving. Let's say you're ready to go up to somewhere really steep. Let's say you're going to go up Mount Everest, 29,000 feet, or you're going to go down to these sort of levels. There's certain things in the atmospheric changes and pressures at the lower levels that you might discover up on Mars. There's very deep areas that are almost like the Marianas Trench that go down really deep. And there's these residual magnetic cores, residual magnetic cores. So you might say that the places that our guys have built up there over the decades are near there from my understanding of how that works. And the idea is with this is that Elon, I'm told, only has sort of a peripheral understanding of this. He might know a little bit about this, what's already kind of there, but not really in depth. He hasn't really, gone into that. And a lot of this has been kind of kept under the hat for so long. Over the years, I'm told there has been intentional guys that have come out in ufology that have just been straight BS. They've talked about going up to Mars and seeing certain people high-fiving them and partying up there. It's not that kind of environment from what I'm told from our space colonization programs around the solar system, but it's a little bit more mundane than that. It's high tech all the same, but in the future that is most certainly going to change as we move forward. But it's very interesting that this whole Bitcoin aspect, we are moving into more cryptocurrency, which will be attached to our digital platforms. It will be attached to these, what we're calling today, immunity passports that are really just going to be biometric, biosynthetic identification systems that all of that will be attached to. The idea with that, though, is that what are your thoughts on Mars expansion, though, Jimmy? Have you listened to a lot of the people that have come on over the years, and have you thought about what they've told you? Do you believe their story? What is your perspective?
Well, for me, I always go to the hard science side of it and the technology side of it, and then apply the the other side. But we do have to recognize that right now we have Perseverance on Mars looking for past life. We now have a helicopter on Mars that's about to fly this Sunday for the first time on any other world except for Earth. And I find that fascinating that these are great leaps that are happening very quickly. I do anticipate an announcement about life on Mars. I think that is imminent, and that is part of the package. The flip side of that is Elon's very aggressive stance about getting to Mars and building cities now. Right? We're talking about, we were supposed to be on the moon again officially in 2024. They pushed back the date now. I didn't make this announcement yet, but they pushed back the date 2 years to the end of 2026, 2027. This is coming from NASA. But to be aggressively on Mars, so quickly and moving forward, what is it that the private sector is going to find once they get there? I don't know how the governments of the world are going to block a private company from disclosing what they find on Mars, whether it's past life, buildings, infrastructure, current life, a Soviet base, a United States base. They come up and the Marines are already there. I don't know.
I am told, Jimmy, we will discover ancient ruins there. Who was it? Was it Hoagland or someone many years ago that had that? Wasn't it a Sphinx?
Yeah, Cydonia. Cydonia on Mars. Yeah, Richard Hoagland.
Yeah, no, I was told that we will discover ruins up there. That's one of the things I was told, that will be confirmed for us eventually, that we will get that. The crazy thing is, like I told you, one of the things that I think this is kind of a crazy thing for people to picture right now, Jimmy, but we think of exploring extraterrestrial life forms and advanced civilizations. We think of that as so amazing right now. I was told, when we go back to that conversation, you and I were talking about like a single muon, that are related to a lepton and these subatomic structures. When you go to this microscopic versus linear perspective, we can go down to this level and we look at the idea of, let's say, inside of an atom. Inside of one atom, there's enough empty space. When we look at, proportionally speaking, there's more empty space inside of that atom than there is, let's say, in all the places on Earth to put things. There's so much in there. You could take inside of there 500 million life forms and put it in there. So you take this life at the quantum subspace. This is like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. At that micro level is going to be at the forefront of our future explorations. You're going to find complex life forms there. They're like humpback whales and giraffes and strange stuff. Almost everything you can find on Earth, you're going to find it at that level. And I was told there's very, very complex and intelligent life forms at that level, at the micro. So in the future, you're going to find this is going to be absolutely incredible. But I wanted to say, while we're at this, while we're exploring these topics, I want to give you something to think about that was told to me. What is the one technology we've had for the last 120 years that we haven't done anything with? It's sort of stayed the same. Do you know what that would be? It's under our nose.
What would that be? There's so many.
I know. Okay. The battery.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
So the battery we have in our car, for example. So we have the wet cell battery. I've been told, how it's been told to me is, you could take your cell phone right now, take the cell phone, take it, and you could modify it so that you could run it 10,000 years very simply. One small modification could run 10,000 years continuously without charging it, which is very interesting. We look in places like India, and we're told that there's one energy cell that could last for 30 million years. We have all sorts of things that are about to happen for us, but we've been held back on them intentionally. Things would change incredibly you think about the energy sources, you think about batteries, you think about how that's going to affect us. You think about the strange stuff we've been told, Jimmy, about the type of beings that have been here. And then, again, we give a shout-out to Billy Carson again, talking about the Sumerians and other areas like that. Look at the Sumerians. Look at their lifespans. Look at guys like Nimrod, or the Epic of Gilgamesh. We have these humans that we say, essentially, in these areas, that what kind of beings back there would have been existing that could live, in their king's list, it said they're living 12,000 years, 300 or 400 years in the modest, or up to 50,000 years. We might say, oh, that's only figuratively speaking. Well, everything in their mathematics otherwise seems to check out, is absolutely all correct. We look at places, we look at places that there have been all kinds of technologies and things that have been going on like this, and understandings. We look at places like India, Pakistan, and the Indus Valley. We have radioactive bodies there, Jimmy. You know this, that we can't even unshield them. When it comes to weird beings, though, that have had all kinds of understanding and technology like this, one of the things I was told, and I got to be careful what I say here, I was told that there are certain places I've been told about in Saudi Arabia, people that have been involved in archaeological things and underground bases in certain places, like in Iran and areas like this, that go all kinds of tunnels. If we have time, we could talk about it. But I've been told there's burial grounds for extraterrestrials in those parts. One of the most interesting ones I've been told about that has been found in excavations was in Africa. Without saying too much about the exact location, I was told this was in the center top half. There were these beings that they found that were very tall. These 9-foot beings and upwards that had very strange look to them. They were dressed in this ancient outfits that were almost like the Hittites, dressed very well. And they had the eyes that looked like, the Volkswagen Beetle bug cars. They had those big round eyes. These beings had these big round eyes that looked like this. So there's been all kinds of beings here that I guess have had all kinds of technologies and understandings at different times. So hopefully one of these days we will have the permission to go forward and be able to unlock our energy sources and things just like the folks that have been here.
Is it, and I always go back to this, Johnny, is it that this knowledge and this information is known, right? It is known. The reasons why we haven't moved forward, it always comes down to money. And it comes down to the petrodollar, and it comes down to fossil fuels and the infrastructure and the delivery systems and the logistics. It's the automotive industry, it's airplanes, it's commercial flight, it's boats on the ocean. It's everything that, and if we just came in one day, it may be great, right? But we would collapse overnight. I mean, there wouldn't be a way to incorporate this. And then the other part of it is, how do you monetize something that is free to everybody?
Well, that's it. I mean, that's why essentially a lot of these technologies and things we have are locked up in black projects. They will hopefully see the light of day, but that's another subject you and I have talked about. We did that show about Peru. Do you remember we talked about how there's been all these lost ancient technologies and things that were in Peru, and we went through all that in Bolivia. We broke it all down piece by piece, and that was a lot of fun. But, at the same point, we know that there's these subterranean and underground networks all around the world. There's bases everywhere. I've talked to Daniel Brinkley before, and he's had some very interesting stories. He believed in one of the stories that he was telling me, that he told me he had heard that underneath Cusco, that he was told about tunnels that went all the way over to Ohio. I've been told that deep in South America, there's a 5,500 mile long tunnel that goes out even to Canada. I was told in these sort of ideas that, of course, we know about the substructures and things that are all underneath Egypt that are much more extensive than people ever believe. There's a lot there. We've talked a lot about Antarctica before, and I know that from what I've been told in the analysis of that place, that there's what we find underneath Antarctica and those ruins that's 35 to 36 million years old. But Jimmy, let me ask you this. When we talk about these kind of technologies that have been hidden from us, where do you think the most underground and secret facilities are in the United States? Where do you think that is?
I would have to say that it must be in multiple locations. It's got to be East Coast. It's got to be West. It's got to be North. It's got to be South. I don't know if there's a central core. If there was a centralized area, man, probably somewhere underneath the Rocky Mountains, I would guess.
Well, we even have the Rocky Mountains are a very good guess, and there's actually something near the Canadian Rockies that I like to call the Canada's Area 51. John B. Leith wrote this book called Genesis for the Space Race, and it turns out there's an enormous facility out there that's underground. And they brought UFOs there after the World War II. But the one place that I've been told is actually Idaho. So Idaho has the largest amount of facilities because of the geothermal properties that are there, and a lot of those come up in Utah. But of course, Nevada. Nevada has these areas connected to Monterey Bay and these underwater pressure systems with submarines. We go up in from Nevada. We also have not only an Area 51 that's about 150 kilometers wide, but you have an Area 12, an Area 13, an Area 52, all kinds of places that lead up into Utah. You have Los Alamos. You have these kind of places. They have essentially elevators that go deep underground with all kinds of different interesting and fascinating technologies, and maybe on the outskirts of that, different biological specimens and things. So, we have all these technologies and breakthroughs, you could say, that are at our fingertips, but it's just a matter of time before we all get them.
I would say, if I was thinking Canada, I'd go Edmonton. For a lot of reasons. It's a brand new city. It was built petrochemicals, right? It's oil, and you have an opportunity there to build something fresh. I bet you Edmonton has got the secrets underneath it. I'm just saying, Johnny, you're Canadian, but I say all roads lead to Edmonton, man.
There's a few places, man. There's a few places in the world, though, with pretty incredible ones. One of my favorites is I got a friend, J.P. Haig, that lives out in Mauritius in the Indian Ocean, and there's a lot of secrets about Mauritius. We could do a whole show someday about ancient Lemuria and the zircons, the radioactive particles that are there, and what they found in the gravitational pull. There's pyramids on Mauritius. There's 7 pyramids. There's a sphinx-like structure. It's amazing. But outside of Mauritius, there's a little tiny base you may have heard of before. It's called Diego Garcia.
That's right.
You know that?
Yeah.
Diego Garcia. Yeah, and some have said that it's connected to Space Force, and there's a little drop-off spot there. But underneath Diego Garcia, there's an underwater sort of subway system, if you'll say, and it connects all the way to Australia. You go west of there, and underneath there, that's where the real action is, where it goes in that little underwater highway system.
Diego Garcia is the most secret thing on planet Earth. Johnny, what a great conversation tonight, man. I had so much fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man. It's always a pleasure being here, and it's a lot of fun to hang out and talk with the Fader Nods, too.
Johnny's Strangeness Updates. Thank you so much, Johnny. Be safe and be well up there.
Hey, thank you, too, man. Take care and talk to you soon.
Johnny Enoch. And Johnny's going to be with us. He's part of the action at UFO Megacon. And the links for everything for UFO Megacon are over at jimmychurchradio.com. Go and get your tickets now. It's about to sell out. Don't play around. Don't mess around. Get over to UFO Megacon. All right. Faded Black's executive producers, Rita Camurian. Show's produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Kevin. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitola, Marty Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intros, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Faded Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2021 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black of the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tomorrow night, Fader Night, open lines all night long. Until then, be safe. It's time to fade to black.